Watch! All right. What is up, fellow dear viewers and fellow watchmen? We have an awesome episode for you all tonight. As you can see, we have a lineup. We don't always have a lineup, but we've been joined by three excellent game masters to talk about some of the worst game mastery advice they've received over their storied careers as they've learned and developed their game mastery skills. And so we're really happy to have you here, joining the chat, joining the conversation. But before we begin, I think really get into the heart of our topic tonight. I think we should do what we always do and ask that very important question. Have you done any gaming this week? And we'll pass it on to our panelists today. Introduce yourselves, what you've been doing, and did you get any gaming done this week? Dying Breed, how about you go first?
Dying Breed on X. Everybody knows me as Kyle. I'm co-host of Nerd Cognito. If you don't know me, then I don't know what to tell you. If you do know me, I'm sorry. We gaming this week? No, I didn't. I've been out pounding the pavement looking for a job. Finally got one though. So
awesome!
Congrats!
I'll be starting that in about a week.
Congratulations!
Next week. So yeah. I mean, I wasn't desperate yet, but I could see that coming down the line now. So looking forward to possibly getting some gaming in. Before the show, Gary invited me to North Texas Con next year. So,
dude, I've publicly
I'd like to go.
invited you to 2 games now on Twitter, and any game I am running, you are always welcome to join, as are our other guests.
Yeah, man, like the kids say these days, man, send me the deets, right? What's the sitch?
I'm going to have to get my millennial Zoomer decoder ring for that one.
Details, Matt. What's the details?
What's the sitch? I remember that because my kids used to watch Kim Possible all the time. That was like, what's the sitch?
That was one of ours. We use that. I heard that in Buffy, I'm sure.
Yeah, Buffy. Yeah.
Flint, did you get any gaming in?
You know, I did, not this past week, probably 2 weeks ago. I did the One Ring, ran the One Ring, and the Free League version. And let's just say that there were some angry squirrels and some sore crotches. Let's just say that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You have a YouTube channel, yes?
I do. It's at FlintFireforge. You can always check that out if you want to.
I think everyone should, if you haven't.
All the peoples.
Yeah,
Other than that, I've been working hard
that.
on my, I'm putting out a sandbox adventure, hopefully this coming week. It'll be finished up and ready to go.
Oh, fantastic. And last but certainly not least, Erudite. Mike, did you get any gaming in?
Thanks for having me. I am Mike. I go by Erudite DM. I do have a YouTube channel. And before I get into that, I'm drinking. If anybody ever was an Archer fan, turn it around the way. Anybody watch Archer back in the day? Sterling Archer,
Yeah.
Spy. He drank Glengoolie Blue. Had some friends make me this glass. This is actually scotch in the glass, so it kind of worked. Anyway, on to important things. So yeah, I did play this week. I played Monday night, and unless I'm already into that scotch too heavily, Flint, I think you were there. Didn't you play Monday night? Or am I hallucinating?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I did. Oh man, I
did. We played Shadow Dark.
I did. I played Shadow Dark. I did. I played.
Was
Shadow
that the
Dark.
game you guys did live?
Yeah, we do every Monday night.
I had y'all. I said hello, and I had y'all in my ear while I did dishes and then cooked dinner for the kids.
That's probably a good. You could have been doing a lot of more useful things while you listen to us, but.
I was feeding my children, people. Come on.
gotta do the dad thing. But yeah, Tim Shorts and Flint and Ken Harrison and Vance Atkins, they used to do a thing last year with Shadow Dark, and Joe the Lawyer was part of that. But
I remember that.
I jumped in and joined that
I remember
group.
that.
So yeah, We do that on Monday.
Since Joe has left, by the way, our shopping trips have sorely diminished.
Yeah.
Just want to point that out.
I saw that you were doing was it the Montefort
Mhm.
dungeon? Is that correct? I actually did a little. I was like, "What is that?" So I googled it, and I saw that it was based on a blog series.
I
Is
believe
that correct?
so. Yeah, it was like back in the 40s or something. I wasn't playing at that time, but yeah, they I think Tim keeps going, "Oh, I think I remember this. I think I remember this." I'm like, "Why are we playing something you already played and remember from a decade ago?"
Right, right. Well, hey,
Yeah, yeah,
different
you're
game master. It's gonna
yeah,
play a little different group of people. Yeah. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I just thought that blog series was interesting. I went down this rabbit hole after I listened to your show for a bit, and I'm just like, what dungeon is this? And then I started reading. So, but very cool, very cool. Hey, Gary, did you get any gaming in?
No, I did not get any gaming in, and I think it's the first time I've ever said that on this show, and it kind of bums me out.
I was gonna say,
it
yeah. Usually it's like, oh, my West Marches. I did like 100 different
bro,
sessions.
it
Look at me. I'm
not
West
only
Marches. I'm so OSR. I'm more OSR than
not
you,
only does
man.
it bum me out that I didn't get to play any games this week, but I'm so worried that like my game is dead. Oh, my game is because since summer started, summer slowed the game down. North Texas Con when I got back, it really slowed down. And I know everybody's busy. It's summertime. There's shit going on, but I do there was no game this week, and it sucks. And
So
I'm
West Marches didn't
feeling
work out. It didn't work.
it's been 1 week. I
thought-
mean, here's where West Marches is going to work out, and this is what I tell people. Let's say nobody wants to play anymore, right? Nobody ever wants to play anymore. What's going to wind up happening is a year or two from now, somebody's going to say, man, I want to play some BX D&D. I want to play some old school essentials. You want to run that game? And I'm already going to have dungeons done. And you know what I mean? So it's, like this is my world now. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. It's like when I was
But-
14. It was like when I was
Chubby,
14, just
hold
rolling
on.
up characters. And
Real
I'm like,
quick,
oh, I'll play this guy someday.
exactly. So here's the thing. Real quick, Chubby has obviously got some shit to say tonight. And I was about to say all kinds of nice things about Chubby. Let's see. Gary is like that chick who got put in jail for sending 18,000 texts to the guy who dumped her. One session missed.
I just saw
He
a
was
video on that,
panicking. Yeah, I know, dude. Hey, but not having a game this week, that did give me some time. And I just want to say this again. I didn't skim. I didn't skip over. I didn't go to see how this system would work. I read Chubby's Shadow City. And fuck, guys, it is so good. We cuss on this podcast. We drink on this podcast. Get used to it. Chubby's Shadow City does so much. One, I can't think of one D&D player I know who wouldn't at some point be like, yeah, I'd play a cool fucking vampire. And then what Chubby did for the game master in that system is just incredible. The Kickstarter's up. Go do it. Please, please, please go do it. Chubby, listen, Chubby, I'd have a game going next week, but my players, I don't want to. I love your game so much. I don't want to pirate it. If it were any other game, I would just send copies of it to my players. But I need for people to get it in their hands, and I'm going to be running it. I think I haven't read. I've been reading Year Zero stuff. I've been all over the place. What is my next game? Your game wins, dude. Your game wins, and I'm out.
I just put the link to the Kickstarter in the chat for those who want to take a look at it. And I think we know where the 18,000 emails and texts Gary's been sending. It's been going to Chubby. Now, with that said,
Poor Chubby and Rob
Chubby, I love-
Alderman, who gave me their real phone numbers. You dumbasses.
Yeah. I don't think you need any. I think really this summer is because even I have been very, very busy and just trying to find time to game And just that's what happens with summer. Things just slow down with games, and I just think you need to roll with it. Frankly, I think it'll pop back up.
Hey, we all had a
once
lot of
people get into more like a rhythm of a
listen,
normal schedule. Once school starts, for those of us with
and
kids,
everything has
a
lifespan. And I know that every session we played, everybody had a lot of fun. Like there's like I've got the DMs to prove how much fun people were having. If it goes away for a little while, it goes away. It's a game. You know what I mean? It happens. What do you do?
Yeah. So, yeah. The only thing my news to report is I play tested something last night that will be published soon. It's an expansion on so I did a bunch of Shadow Dark game jams. When you do a game jam, you're limited by page count and stuff. So a lot of stuff hit the cutting room floor, and I decided to go back through some of these adventures I wrote and really expand on them. And last night I started play testing Return of the White Wizard with like all the expansion stuff, and we had a blast last night. I want to give a shout out to Atmost. I'm the only one on my server who knows his secret identity. But he's been a great player and who's given me some great feedback, as has Melkor and Eric, aka Atomic Hedgehog. I really appreciate you guys. We had a blast, and when I heard Atmos basically tell me no, I don't want to hear anymore, I'm setting the building on fire, I knew the horror was working. So last night was a lot of fun, and so that was my gaming. That and last Saturday, Gods of the Forbidden North. My players are like finally understand downtime, and I'm looking forward to the next period of downtime. I explained, I'm like, it's kind of like a Bronstein, if you know what that is, and I explained that, and they're like, oh, okay. And I discovered my players have a private text chat that I'm not a part of, so they can talk about the campaign. So things are starting to gel, and I'm really excited for the next couple of weeks.
I do think that if I would have solved my downtime problem sooner, I think if I would have done Hell March a little bit sooner, because that's made things exciting, and if I'd have taken care of downtime sooner, my game wouldn't be falling apart. Pity me. Come on, guys.
Well, I don't think
play.
It's falling apart.
Sorry, I'm out.
It's not falling apart. I think people, we can go down. We're going to get off topic. We'll talk. I don't think your game is dead. I really don't. I really don't. It's West Marches. It can't die unless you put a stake through its heart. Oh, there it is. Atmos. And that's exactly what it's supposed to be. Thank you.
Can confirm. It is just.
Yeah. Yes. That's right. Flint, you ran like the original version of it with your gaming group, which is awesome, and I appreciate that. So, but enough about my craziness. Guys, what's the worst gaming advice you've ever received? For GM as you were coming up. Who wants to go first?
I don't mind going first,
saving mine
but I
for
feel
later.
like there's some real easy pickings, and then there's some kind of off the cuff things. So here, let me give you one, and let's see how many hands go up. How many people got this? And when I say bad GM advice, are we talking about right now? Or are we talking about in our formative GM years? What are we just talking about?
I think for me, it's just across the board. Like, yeah, we could. I mean, like a lot of my ire is focused against like a lot of the talking heads on YouTube, but coming up, I'm sure know. I mean, I'm self-taught. I'm like a hedge wizard. Like I never.
All right, so here's my first one.
Tutor or anything.
Yeah, here's one, and I think there's some that are real easy. So let's get a show of hands. If you don't like a rule, don't use it. And I think that's bad advice.
Depends.
Use the fucking rule until it proves that you shouldn't.
It depends on what it is.
Well,
at least know the rules. Know the rules. Play the rules
that's
first
fair.
Before you decide to start going rules. Screw them.
Exactly.
Right.
That's exactly what
I agree.
You got to walk before you can run, kind of thing, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So.
Give me 1 second, guys. My cat is trying to.
I think the problem with that is that if you're a new game master in this day and time, and you get on the internet, and you've just started trying to learn D&D, whatever the fuck edition we're on right now, and you see some video telling you if you don't like a rule, ignore it, what's going to wind up happening is you're going to be reading those new rules, and there's going to be a whole fucking section that you don't like, or it's too hard for you, or you don't have the patience to encumbrance. And ask any OSR guy how important encumbrance is. But if you don't want to do it, ignore it. But it's, dude, you know, the founders didn't put shit in the game unless it needed to be there. There's a reason everything is there, I think.
That's true. That's true. However, I caution just being dogmatic, pontificating. Gary Gygax is not Moses, with the freaking 10 commandments, right? Yeah, he's a game designer and he's human and he may or may not have made mistakes. And I think, the game has evolved. And what I mean by the game, the concept of the tabletop RPG, we have to remember the concept was discovered in like the late 60s, early 70s. And like, they've been trying to figure it out ever since. And like the game and the concept of the game has gone through all these permutations, right? And people have like tried different ways of addressing it. That's why it's one of the main reasons why story game and the Forge are not bad words here. I've had fun playing story games. It's a different perspective. It's a different mindset. And I think they're not optimal. And I think you need particular players willing to buy in, but generally speaking, I've had fun. So I had this great back and forth with a particular grand poobah of a particular OSR subgroup. We'll call them bros. And I said to him on X, I said, as he's like, pontificating about a particular way of play style, I said, if you're talking about Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Edition, I'm not going to disagree with you. You're probably right. And I just left it at that, because trying to take what Gary was talking about with AD&D First Edition and placing it into a later edition of the game may not be logical. It may not hold. So, and let's be clear here, messing with these rules that we may not have liked have created other games like, I don't know, Shadow Dark. They don't use encumbrance. They use a slot-based system of encumbrance, which is very radically different from what Gary was doing. So, anyway, I agree with you.
Is there any, Gary, you play a lot of old school essentials, right? Is there any rules in there that you don't use? Because you say that's either too hard for the group or it's too much to manage?
No. So we do, I joked about encumbrance. We use item-based encumbrance, so here's the thing. If I'm playing a game and I start changing shit, one of the great things about old school essentials is that after the basic system, everything is optional. So they have an optional item-based encumbrance. I believe it's in one of the Carcass Crawler zines. They're 4 or 5 now. So that way I can always refer to something official. And I know that seems weird, but I do kind of feel like at this moment in time, like if I were just to say, hey guys, here, we're going to use item encumbrance and here's the way it works. And I just tell them it's my, whatever. I kind of feel like going to the official Nerd Rot. You know what I'm saying? Like it's in, one of these right there, right? Everybody's like, oh, okay, fine. So I'll do that, but I don't. I was thinking about this. I had a turning point, and of all games, I bring this game up all the fucking time. It was the FFG Star Wars game. And it was the language they used to explain how everything worked and how precise they were in the language that kind of got me into really rules as written. I was a victim like everybody else to rule of cool and all that bullshit, But the way that game was written was like, oh, there's intent here. And then I began to look at every game as being like, oh, there is intent. So I don't, Yeah, if you don't, the idea of if you don't like a rule, ignore it. I think you had better be playing that system for a while. You know,
That's
for
fair.
a while.
Yeah. I think
But you didn't like the original rules as written encumbrance, so you found
I
alternative
did
rules.
because I was trying to do a West Marches game. I wanted people to be able to pop in and pop out. And I feel like the original encumbrance system where everything is weighted in coins, right? It was just hard. You know, I would just wanted it. I didn't change any of the other rules. We're using, you know, descending armor class and all of that. But I just felt like encumbrance was one of those things that was going to be hard to track for the player that jumped in and out of the game every month or so. You know.
Can I put an asterisk just by all of this and go back a step? Because when he's asked me to jump on this about, worst DM advice ever, maybe I'm just kind of the person that doesn't look for a whole lot. I mean, I like to hear what other people think, and I love to collaborate with the people I play with. But let's just set the table. I was in junior high when I started playing Holmes' book, the soft cover that some kid gave me. A year later, got the AD&D books. What advice? There was no advice. There was no internet. There was no, what am I going to go down to Walden Books, which has, been gone for 20 years, where maybe I bought a book and asked the lady at the cash register. There was nobody giving it, unless you had Dragon Magazine or Dungeon, whichever one came first, and found out about those a couple of years later, frankly. But there was no discussion. It was just me and my friends in this insular little room left to interpret these things and make them up. And I know that's just a version of what we've all heard, but if you're going to talk about DM advice, now there's stuff today. I got back into role-playing games almost 3 years ago, I guess, 2.5, 3 years ago. And then I certainly started listening and paying attention to this. But, I've always felt like I bought this thing or another, whatever, Castles and Crusades. Once I buy it, it is now in my hands, and whatever the hell I want to do with it,
Right.
I'm going to do with it with the people I play with. And if it's cool with them and it's cool with me, I don't need to have some esoteric argument with people online that I don't really know about their, if that's the way you and your friends play it, knock yourselves out. We're going to play it this way, and that's just the way it's going to be. But I don't know. And now I feel like we're into a raw versus homebrew argument instead of a
Well, I wanted to bounce off of what you just said because I've been on this kick, and I was actually on Bacon's channel about a month or so ago about this. I really got to get back to this video series that I intended to make. But Bacon's awesome. He's well, he's like our resident philosopher, and I thought I was smart. That dude, geez. Anyway, love that guy. But I was talking about, I think the game master, they're creating a game when they sit down and start a campaign, and the game creation is more than just the rules set for adjudicating stuff that happens in game. The game master's taking in all this other, I'll call extra legal information: who's playing, the number of players, when you're playing, particular idiosyncrasies of the table, and the game master has to take all that into consideration, and that might mean house ruling some stuff. And Gary, like you just said, you want to do this West Marches game, and you wanted to make sure it would be easy for people to pop in and pop out. So taking an easier approach to encumbrance made sense. And you know what? I completely agree with you in that context, right? Like, you had to think about that. So I think this is I know we're a little off topic, but this is my argument against Raw. It limits the creativity of the game master and reduces him to nothing more than a dude in a black and white striped shirt.
Well,
you are more than a referee. You are a game
master. The
master.
other thing is that I think one of the reasons I don't, it's with old school essentials or BX, it's like I've been playing Weekend of Bernie's. I've been playing this game since I was like 8 or 9 years old. It's, I understand the implications of changing a rule. However, if this were a different game that, let's say I finally cracked and bought Twilight 2000. I've been on the verge of buying Twilight 2000 for a month now. And I'm reading that book and I see something and go, oh, I'm not going to use that. That would just be dumb. You know, that'd be foolhardy. So, but anyway, that's the word. That's part of the worst advice I've got. And the reason I brought that up is because I think that's an across the board worst advice. I think everybody gets that advice. And I don't think it's the worst advice in the world, except when you're just starting. I think a lot of people get that advice when they first start running games, and it just leads to it leads to you really understanding the game misunderstanding the game you're playing.
Right.
So,
I think you're right about that, Gary, about playing the game enough to understand what a rule that you don't like. It's, so many, I mean, I imagine there's some people who toss a rule because they don't like it. It's very subjective, but they don't understand how the rule applies to your table that may help them somehow. In other words, you've pitched a rule that actually is going to help maybe players manage, their characters better, or it may help manage the table better for you. So maybe the thing is, don't pitch it too quickly. Go ahead and, like you said, play it out, and then discussion will ensue.
yeah. Nope, I agree. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. I think that's the most common thing, and I think that's advice people hear too early. And that's one of the reasons I asked at the beginning, are we talking about things you hear when you're first game mastering or when you're in it in a while? But yeah, that's mine. That's my big first one. So I'm good.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. And I think when you're first starting out is good, because let's face it, we were talking about this before we went on stream, Gary. I think a vast majority of us in the industry, in these like online communities, we're game masters. We've been doing it for a very long time. So we already have that kind of perspective. But I look at my son, who's kind of getting into this. He's not 100%, but he's watching YouTube and he's watching these guys talk about being a game master. And I started hearing things like, well, it's all about the story, Dad. And I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I don't want to be a jerk to my kid, but I'm like, who are you watching? You're forbidden. That guy, and well, I listened to this guy, and he's got a very nice YouTube channel. He's very, he's not me. He's professional and it's well produced and all this stuff. But I heard him say, I've only been dungeon game mastering for 2 years, but I'm going to tell you how to write an adventure. I'm like, 2 years, motherfucker?
Yeah.
What? I like, shut this down. Come talk today. I've been doing this for 30. Come on. Like, we're going to play some Shadow Dark. And then I almost killed him. Anyway, the point is, I think there's the vast majority of people out there aren't in this community, and they are new, and they're coming into OSR play, for example, or just the broader gaming context. So I think your opinion or your bad advice is spot on. Like, people need to learn these games, and not just one game, multiple games, so you can sort of like synthesize the material.
Yeah,
and have some higher
because
order
you
thoughts.
start to see through the veil, right? Once you've really learned 2 or 3 systems, that's when you figure out that, oh fuck, I could use a coin flip. You start to understand how the sausage is made, and as much as like that can kind of take away from certain things. If you're a game master and you're spending your evenings hunched over the table drawing dungeons and all that other shit, you're gonna find out. You're gonna figure it out one day and be like, oh, it doesn't matter.
It's all an illusion, man.
Yeah, I think to play these games, you have to have a malleable, attitude about the whole thing, and realize there's different environments people play in. And when you do start being your DM, I was a DM at first, always, hardly ever got to play. But once you start playing with other people or other game systems, you do learn that maybe, what goes in one situation, doesn't in another, and it doesn't fit. You have to know the players. You have to know the system. Like we said, you should try to play by the rules to understand it before you start fiddling with stuff. But I think a lot of people don't give themselves enough time. I mean, hell, just since I got back in a couple of years ago, I've started playing other games, and I really enjoy it. I've not tried Daggerheart. I don't know if I will or not, but there's so many games people talk about every week. I would love to do Lamentations if Matt drags me into some of that.
Lamentations is good.
Don't get excited, Matt. I may hate it. I don't know.
Lamentations is good, dude. I've been listen,
brother. I am going
Matt,
to run something.
Can I want
just
to
for you.
real quick. I just want to. I
got
got
books.
it.
I got books. I got
I
books.
gotta
See,
let
now you got some books.
Hey, Patty's here. What's up, Patty? Hey, I gotta let the dogs out real quick, but I want to tell you something, Matt, and I can't believe I'm saying this. You know how everybody has the game they play, but then they're kind of doing something for Shadow Dark? I find that I have the game I play, and every time I reach for my Shadow Dark book, I wind up with the Lamentations book in my hand. I gotta let the dogs out.
You understand? it's burrowing in the back of your brain. You have seen too much, Gary, and I am pleased to be the Dark Lord that showed you. Anyway,
DM advice.
this doesn't have to be.
You're looking around like, what
let's
the
get
hell
back
are
to
we
game
talking
man. So Gary's advice I agree with. I do think we need to worry. I don't think we should be dogmatic though.
Yeah, I got one for you. Is the people in the last few years talking about all this prep you do, whether you prep too much or not enough, that kind of thing. And I've heard both sides of that. At the end of the day, the prep is, if you're the GM, the prep is up to you how much or how little you want to do. I overwrite everything. And when I got back into it, I was doing a 5e game. So I had to learn 5e, which is how I found out I didn't want to play 5e eventually, because it was just too much for me, for my taste. I would play it again if somebody else was running it. But, when I got back into it, I kind of discovered that, I forgot where the hell I was going. Anyway, it'll come back to me. I'll be back here on Sunday. I'll be back here on Sunday at 2 p.m.
Well, you're talking
sorry,
about prep.
Yeah,
right?
thank you. So the prep thing is, some of the bad advice I saw was, you're over prepping, you're spending too much time on this. And then I realized, you know what? I enjoy the prep. That's when I started doing solo. And I don't solo all the time. In fact, hell, I probably haven't touched it back there on this table behind me. I haven't touched that game in probably 60 days or more, because I'm writing zines and doing other stuff and playing with the guys during the week. But I enjoy the prep. If that's what you like, that's play. Do your thing, right? So that was some advice I got. People trying to steer me, well, you're wasting too much time. Well, what's wasting it for one person may be entirely true, but for another person, because I'll write something if I go, I didn't use it in this, or I don't like it in this. And I bet you Paul's shaking his head. Flint's shaking his head. He probably does the same thing. I'll save that nugget or that piece. You guys probably do the same thing, and I'll use it in another game later on. And you throw it in some notes or in a folder someplace, right? So yeah, don't buy the prep thing. Do what's good for you. And one more I'll add is, when I first got back into it, everybody was talking about doing everything for the players and helping the players and the players this, and I kind of felt like, what am I fucking juggling over here or something to keep these people happy? And it depends on who you're playing with. Also, I was playing with all newbies who were video gamers, family members. They did not understand where I was coming from. And it just wasn't fun for me, really, because I felt like I'm putting so much time into this. I need to be entertained too as the GM. I need to have some fun at this as well. We're equal partners here. Absolutely collaborate.
Yes,
Absolutely give me ideas. Tell me what you want to do before and after the session, hell, during the session. And I'll try to think on my feet and go kind of where you want to go. We'll do something fun together. But I don't want to feel like I'm the maitre d' at some restaurant, and the chef and the waiter and the bartender and the, no, just no. I got too much ego for that anyway. That's not me.
That really leads into some of the modern advice you see on the internet coming from people, right? This idea that, well, the game master has an obligation to the table for everybody to have a good time. And anytime it's this, there seems to be this sort of trend that I've noticed where players want their agency, right? We want to be able to do whatever we want, man. Just don't railroad us. But then if things go south, suddenly it's somebody else's fault.
Yes.
Well, that's the game master's fault. You know, you're bad. You're a bad game master. We TPK'd. You're a bad game master. That shouldn't have ever happened. And they're past. So it's like they want their cake. They want to have their cake and eat it too, right? You know,
And
it's
yeah, it's like I've seen it on both sides, right? You have the main character syndrome for like this this tourists who think D&D is like Critical Role and it's like this big story, blah blah blah, and they want to be entertained. And I have a video on this where I say you're not an entertainer, you're a game master. Right. God damn it, you are not a marionette dancing for your players, which is really demeaning when you think about it, because they're your friends. They're supposed to be your friends. But on the flip side, and I've said this before, everyone wants to be a OSR until it's time to do OSR things, and that TPK happens, and it's like, whose fault is it? No, it's not my fault. It was the dice's. You did this thing that required a dice roll, and there it is. Yeah. So I've had some interesting. I don't want to get into it, but I've had some. Interesting
now at the same time, though, you've got
encounters with OSR tough guys who all of a sudden aren't. I agree.
Yeah.
Depends on who you're playing with, though, Matt. If these are experienced gamers or newbies and that kind of thing, too. Are they people that are close to you? Is it your regular group? Are you at a con playing with strangers?
I
all
agree.
those things, right, come into what you.
But then you've got a situation. DM Cloaker, our buddy Brian, right, who he gets paid to run sessions sometimes. I think the dynamic does
so much.
Well, so much. But I don't know if he does or not. But the fact is, there's a shift, and suddenly that argument becomes more relevant because he's providing a service, right?
That can change.
So, So I mean, honestly, if somebody was paying me to run sessions, and I've got a friend here locally who. For a while, he was making a significant living off of it. That's what he did. He ran games 5 nights a week down at the FLGS. And the guy also has a benefit of a photographic memory, an eidetic memory, so he didn't have to do a lot of prep and everything. So he was very well suited towards this. He was hugely successful. But at that point, when you're providing a service, and if somebody was paying me, then yeah, I might be like, well, maybe I do need to fudge a roll or something, because these are my customers, right? If you lose your customers, you're not getting paid. So looking at it from a business sort of point of view.
You know what? I would agree with that to an extent. Having known Brian for as long as I have, though, Brian is a different kind of GM, whatever you want to call it. Brian is very, and I don't want to be condescending and make this sound bad. Brian is a really sensitive guy. Like, so, I met Brian, like in person. I just met Brian for the first time at like North Texas Con. Right. And like, there was one time where we had an interaction. Like I'm kind of a rough guy. Like my family's rough. I don't know if you guys can tell this about me.
Easy, tough guy.
Yeah, we think.
I don't know.
Figured you were a teddy bear. We thought.
Yeah, things are a little different where I'm from, right? But like I was worried about his feelings. Like I said a thing and I said it brusquely, and I was like, "Oh, So anyway, Brian is very keyed into his players, and there have been times where he's told me about situations, and I was like, "Fuck that character." Like there was this one situation he told me about where like his cleric had rolled back-to-back critical failures on like prayers and shit, And I was like, dude, his gods have forsaken him, take away all his power. But Brian is like, I can't take everything from him. And him and his player worked it out, right? He took the time. He's that guy, and his players love him for it.
Yeah, and on that note, because I also met Brian for the first time at North Texas Con, and we chatted a lot, got to know him, and I've also had the benefit of playing under him, and I don't think what he does. Game. Yeah, I don't think what he does is outside the norm. It's just the way he goes about it, like that makes it a little weird. Not weird is not right. Just not, I guess, what we used to in terms of like the lingua franca of talking about this topic. Like,
It's like
to me, OSR is about the negotiation between the game master and the player, right? And the player says, "I want to do this thing," and the game master's like, "Okay, let's talk it out. Let's figure out how this thing works." That's what he does, but he also does it in like more than just game mechanics. Not like, "Oh, hey, I want to swing from the chandelier." It's, I want to have like my this experience where my character's grandmother has been kidnapped by the villain and da 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 da, and he'll like, okay, yeah, let's work this out and make it happen. So you have this amazing experience at the game table, and I think it's very selfless of him. I don't think, however, it should be the standard,
Right.
because I don't think everyone can do it. I think
Yeah.
that's just something that is Brian. And I think that's
Yeah.
wonderful of Brian, by the way.
I
That
I
makes
love
him
the
good.
guy. I love the guy.
Yeah.
He's super nice
It-
dude. I think my point though is that what's acceptable and what's not as far as the role of the game master is going to vary a little bit based on conditions and tables, right? So if you're getting paid,
Agreed.
okay, you might have to have this set of standards. If you're not getting paid, you might have, but let's say you're doing a pickup game at your local gaming store, you don't necessarily know everybody, right? And you don't,
Right.
you get some guy, okay, I've talked to this guy, for 30 minutes and now now I'm playing a game with him. So at that point, the social dynamic becomes a little bit more, you got to be careful. You got to tread a little more carefully, right? But then if you're playing like, if I'm playing with my buddy Balthazar, who I've known for 40, almost 40 years, and a bunch of our friends, then it's like, we know where the boundaries are. We don't have to feel that out anymore. And so you can, our game's going to be different than say Gary's game or Flint's game or Mike's game or Matt's game or whatever. So
Right. And to
I
your,
think,
and to
you,
your
I think
point,
you have to just be a little careful how we phrase things, that we don't
Right.
always just blanket statement everything all the time.
right. And to just speak to that, and I occasionally run some paid games. The first paid game that I ever run was a TPK. Stranger.
How did they respond?
They loved it. They thought it was hilarious because I had given them. I think it goes back to the DM is not entertainer, right? DM just runs the rules. Now, in fairness to the players, sometimes I'll give instructions like, hey, you guys might want to listen to the intonation of my voice when I say things. It may clue you in. It may save your. I said, if your characters die, they're going to die of stupidity. They just are.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. Yes.
And,
So when
and
I
that's the
ran
way
it-
I would run it.
yes.
Yeah.
And so when I run the game for them and they all paid, and by the end of the night, they were just laughing hilariously because I gave them every chance, right? It's the thing. It's like the dwarf is holding this dagger in his hand and he's holding it out to you. And they're like, yes, I would like to go get that. And I said, the dwarf looks really evil. He looks like he doesn't want you to take it. No, we're taking it. Okay. So they take it, then the statue explodes, kills two of them instantly. And then I say, okay, give me a dex roll, right? You're like now thinking like, I'll give you a shot. I mean,
Yeah.
you get a shot. Give me a dex roll. Give me a con roll. Give me something. Fail. At the end of the day, though, they all died. All their characters died. And at the end of the day, nobody's hurt feelings. Nobody was upset. And I think if the DM is the entertainer and is there to make people happy, I don't know if your players are getting an authentic game. In other words, they're not playing the game that the game was meant to be. You've changed it. And so once again, this is a little different. Game table matters. Kids, right? So when I run for teenagers, let's say, or something like that, there might be some finagling going around and some death rules and things like that. But I think you have to play the game in order for them to know that this is not always, you run it because this is the standard. We're going to call it that OSR is deadly and OSR is, all these terrible things can happen in game. then you can't rob the players from that. So
Right.
they can get the full gist of what they're doing. So then they can make changes in their player style going forward.
Real quick, we got a super chat. OSR Dwarf, thank you so much, man. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. $20, some cash to keep the boys working the corner tonight. Well, that's Gary, not me. I'm his attorney.
It's
We're
not
trying to get him out of
yes,
jail.
exactly.
He's his attorney, so Matt gets $18 of that.
Yes, exactly.
Listen,
actually, he's running a deficit, Kyle. He's running a deficit.
Okay.
We
about
won't get
12
into that.
years ago, and well, I say 12, about 11. Oh my God, I'm so old. On a significant birthday, one of the presents I got was a divorce. And 3 weeks later, I found myself in a small apartment in a part of town that you would never want to raise a kid in with a kid. And I met my downstairs neighbor one night after coming home from being a professional musician about 3:30, and he tells me, "Hey, man, it's not the best corner, but fuck it, it's my corner, right? My corner." And I just want to tell OSR Dwarf that I'll take it, bro. I'll take it.
Yeah.
So,
You realize that was a veiled threat, right? It's my corner, I say.
He knew I was not looking to take over his corner.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, all right. So, who are we on? I did mine.
So,
Good advice.
Mike,
Bad advice.
let us off with it. Well, Mike actually also brought up the issue of prep, and then we moved on to this other thing. I actually agree with you, man. I don't think there's a issue with over prep. And the reason I say that is because some of the people, and I'm not going to name names, we'll just say
Name them.
They are talking heads.
$50 super chat right now for Matt to tell the names. $50.
I'll tell the name.
If you would, but they say things like prep is really bad, but what they do is they connect prep with like this this railroady story game, and what you described, Mike, was not that at all. What you described is just being prepared for your game. And I remember years ago when I met Gary and we had our podcast, this thing that lasted 9 months. He would get on my ass for like writing. Like I would have pages of notes ready for a game session. But you know what? Those notes were how do I want to put this? That was my appendix N. This is what I relied upon when my players did whatever they did. I could just be like, I had all this stuff in my head on my notes that I could respond. It wasn't meant to railroad my players at all. So I agree with you on that, Mike. I think it's bad advice to tell people.
You got to know where that line is, though, right? Because I did all that prep, you did all that prep. But if I get into the session with friends and players and I start dumping it all, right, and trying to push that in there, and that's what you mean by railroading, I'm sure. And that's
and I've said this.
I have to know what's suitable for that game. And hey,
sure, I've said this before. The Game Master's 12 pages of lore is to the players as the player's 5-page backstory is to the Game Master. No one fucking cares.
But that's not the reason I do it, man.
Well, exactly. You do it for those moments when the players go off. You have your lore, or you could drop Tom Bombadil to do the thing, and they learn something about the game world, and they go off because you had that ready. So I agree with you.
There's two approaches.
I think,
there's two approaches to world building. There's the top down, which is me. I tend to be an over prepper, but like you say, that doesn't mean that I construct a story and I have bullet points or some sort of flow chart and we're going to hit this no matter what the players do, and this is going to be the outcome. The outcome is I'm setting a stage, and I really do look at it from that point of view where it's like we got props and we've got a situation. Okay, I mean, somebody's born into this world in real life, they're going to have to deal with certain things. It's like, well, this country's at war with this country, and this is the political situation, and this is going on here, and this is the dominant religion in your area, and here's how money works, and all this kind of stuff. I tend to over prep that stuff a lot, but it's not because, and I'm not going to dump it on the players.
Yeah.
But what it does is it builds a believable real world in my mind, so that when the players zig when they should zag, kind of thing, or they throw that curveball at me, I'm going to be able to respond to that in a very simulationist and realistic way. It's like, I know the plate tectonics of my world. I know where the fucking mountain ranges are, and I know about the rain shadow effect, which means I know where the fucking deserts are. And so if they're like, well, we need to go to the desert, well, okay, you know what? You've got a 2-month journey. Or whatever,
right.
Whatever the case may be. I mean, that's just an example.
OSR Dwarf said in the comments that he wants a hook, right? And that's, I think, what Kyle's describing. That's what I try to write everything like almost like a point crawl. They might not get to some of these points, but if they show interest in one way or another, then I'm prepared and I can go that way, and I can play that part of the game, right? Or try to.
And then based on what they do, you adapt and you expand based on that, right? If they keep pursuing something that was really a minor detail in your world, you just go down that path, man. You let it play out and you let them do their thing.
Well, right. And the problem is, if you're a railroady DM and you have over prepped and your players are not following the rules, they're not following along, all that prep is out the window, because now you've prepped it, which is fine. But especially if you're a railroady DM, you're like, oh boy, they're not going there. Oh boy, they're not going there. Oh, they're not going there now. Right? It's just enough prep, right?
I gotta interject real quick. We got a super chat from Legacy Game Mastering, a dear friend of mine I've known for a few years here. Brother, it's so good to see you. $5. Thank you so much. The sweet spot is between 0 and total prep. Have a seed and let the players go nuts. I agree.
Hey, Legacy, good to hear from you, man.
I know people that can do 0 prep, and it works beautifully.
I
am incapable of that.
I don't mind doing 0 prep, and I've been able to do it. In fact, my Gods of the Forbidden North campaign has been in a lot of ways 0 prep, because my players don't talk to me, and I'm just like, what's happening today, guys? Oh, we're gonna go to Fort Ivankar. Okay, flip to that chapter, and then I start going. But I'm prepped enough in the sense that I've read the book, so I kind of know what's going on. But I think, again, we'll just call them the bros. They have this idea that the 0 prep is purely just rolling dice in the appendices of the DMG first edition, and that can be fun, but that to me is an entirely different game than what a lot of other people are doing.
It's fine.
And I think, and I think if that's the experience you want, that's a decision to make. But I don't think it's superior to what you were discussing.
I don't think it's superior. I don't think it's superior. It's just another approach to the game, right? That's my personal thing. I actually personally, and you heard it here first, folks, I have 0 problem with what the bros do and the way they play the game. And I think that they have some very valid arguments. I think they have some very valid ways and styles of playing the game. My issue becomes the dogma.
I'm going to blame the liquor for this one. I don't have a problem. I don't have the problem with the bros either. I just their presentation.
I think one thing is I'm going to jump in here. God damn it, my name's on the fucking thing.
Hey Gary,
Hey,
go Gary.
When did this guy show up?
Listen,
I have no idea.
And as soon as I'm done saying what I'm saying, I'm going to go get a drink. All right. But I think it's helpful to keep in mind when everybody's doing all this prep work, you have to remember that the best movies, the best albums, the best songs, they're all made in editing, right? It's getting rid of shit. The best books don't have a word or a sentence that they don't need. You know, you can tell the same jokes, but if you put too many words in them, the jokes don't hit right. You know, you've got to cut away the fat. So I think with prep, there is a balance point, just like Legacy was talking about. You don't want to paint yourself into any boxes, right? Like you don't want to put yourself in a place where if this happens, then this has to happen. You want to keep things kind of broad, right? You want to see what your players' interests are. Now, whatever your players are interacting with at the time, once they interact with that NPC or that piece of the environment, it is what it is. It's exactly what came out of your mouth. But everything kind of out from that, keep it loose. Have ideas that kind of excite you, but don't get married to them, right? Because your players may go a different way. You might change your mind. You might wake up at 2 a.m. and be like, holy shit, I have a great idea for this whole area to the west. But if you've written too much down, you're kind of fucked. You know, it's never going to happen.
Well, and over prepping is a learned behavior, by the way, I think, because I speak for me, when I first started, I didn't know anything. I read it straight out of the module. There it is. That's what we're doing. And for me, I think somewhere along the way, most of the bad advice, by the way, I got about DMing was from myself, because I would tell myself, oh, you need to prep more. You need to be prepared more. So I would tell myself these things, and then got down to the rabbit hole of prepping. Whereas when I first started, it was I just opened the module and said, that's I didn't know any better.
Right.
You know, I didn't know any better.
Yeah, modules were a training tool for us back in the day, right? And if you read The Village of Hamlet, you know, there's some obscure farmer in there. And, you know, here's the section about, you don't know his name, but you do know that under a floorboard beneath his bed, there's 300 copper pieces, right? That he's hidden away. And that's the kind of, I mean, yeah. So when you sit down, you know, Flint, whenever you come at it from that approach, is like, man, I need to know every single detail about this farmer except his fucking name.
Real quick, when Matt started this, when he brought this up, you got to understand the shit he was telling me that he prepped out. Like, it wasn't like he had the castle they might go into. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I've got all the dungeons made. It wasn't fucking like that. It was, I've got the last 1,000 years of history written, and you know, and like it was fucking like he had been doing some goddamn work. All right.
I did that.
It wasn't like he wrote a page or two,
and it was fun.
No, and it's fun, and I'm not
whipping myself.
Yeah. I don't.
Thou shalt not suck.
I don't think it's a sin. I just don't like being painted in. You know, the players or something may happen. My interest may change. You never know. You know?
Well, again, Gary, what you're talking about is what happens at the table after all that prep. What I'm trying to say is you can do all that prep. I get a kick out of it. Maybe Matt or Kyle does too, or Flint or whatever. Shame on us if we take it to the table and insist on pushing too much and railroading. That's when it's wrong. But if I want to sit there during the week and make up a whole freaking city map and they decide to go a different route and they never get to it, I'll save it for another day. You know, I'll save it for something else.
And I think I don't think there's wrong with having detail in your prep. That's fine to have the detail in your world and everything. I think that if you already know what's going to happen when your players interact with an NPC or the environment, and when you make the reaction roll, when you make that 2d6 reaction roll, it doesn't mean shit because the DM's already prepped this out and he already knows how it's going to work out. Because
I agree with you on that.
Well, you know what I mean? Like,
but that's the railroad.
But over prep, I think most DMs fall into the trap of over prepping to the point of railroading.
I haven't played,
in my opinion.
That could happen.
Yeah.
Here's an example of my prep, Gary. So like the last game I ran, I started off and I just did like a small region, right? But then in my spare time, in my evenings, I went into some sort of weird Rain Man mode where I'm just fucking building like a goddamn madman, and I draw out this an entire fucking continent. And here's the mountain ranges, and here's the major cities. Now I leave things open for adaptability. It's like I don't map out every single small hamlet and village and thing like that, because maybe I need to throw something in at some point, right? But as far as major cities go, I know what their major imports and exports are.
Mm-hmm.
I have a chart. I have a fucking chart with symbols, dude. It's like around here they've got cattle and wheat, and they're landlocked, so there's almost no seafood or fishing, right? Or
I don't think that's
just
over
throwing that out
prep.
there.
Yeah, I would say too. That's not over
That's
prep.
not-
That's just
that's not
established.
over prep.
That's established world.
But yeah, you're establishing the world, and then when the players show up and it's and they want to go buy a barrel of pickled fish, well, it's going to cost you because that shit just traveled for.
Hold up. I hate to be that guy, but we have to define our terms. In the current discourse that's been going on for about a year or two, over prepping has been synonymous with railroading, and my argument is that it's not. So when I say the term over prep, I'm talking about what Kyle's doing, just defining your world, and that is still controversial for certain subsects of this hobby. Again, we'll just call them wrestling aficionados who think players should have equal say in how the world develops, because otherwise you'd be affecting their player agency. No, I am the game master, and I have created a world, and I am entitled to be having fun too. And I've created this thing, and I've prepped this thing, and you are going to play in it. I'm not going to tell you how to play in it, but this is what you're playing in. This is the sandbox I've created, and I don't think that should be
world building is not over
but it
prepping.
is.
World building is world building. You're never gonna have everything for every situation. But that's just normal. You're just building a world. Over prepping to me would be like if you are, you're trying to figure out 50 different ways a player may go, and then you have to have over prep that you have to have 10 NPCs, and you got to have 40 of these things, and you're you're packing your mind with all these things, trying to guess what your players are going to do, and so you have over prepped to try to take care of those things when maybe you should not do that.
That was my point, though. It's like that's my type of over prep, right? I have zero investment in the sort of flow chart of like boom, 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 and then on the 14th night, the undead army attacks the city no matter what. I don't do that. Now, maybe there's a guy trying to raise an undead army, and maybe that'll happen. Maybe it won't, depending on the actions of the players. I don't prep that. So it's not prepping in the form of a railroad. It's prepping in the sense that I know this world backwards and forwards in my own mind. And so when the players want to do something, or they try to interact in a more in a deeper level than just we're going to go to the dungeon and kill monsters, then I have answers, and I don't have to sit there and think about it, or I don't have to roll on some sort of random table. So
Kyle, you write out potential encounters, you create potential locations, you make NPCs
on a broad scale. Yes, I'll do the major power players. So, and they're not necessarily villains, right? I mean, it's just like you've got a faction or this group or this guy. You've got the crazy old necromancer out here in the wilderness in a single tower, and he's raising the undead army.
Person. That's a rando that could happen when the time is right.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess that's called by powerful. He's a 15th level magic user. I mean, I don't know. I guess everybody, at the end of the day, I mean, we can bicker about this all day long. Getting back to our point, though, bad DM advice. First bad DM advice I ever got. I started playing in 1979. And the first game I ever played in, I moved to the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area. I'd never heard of Dungeons and Dragons. Come from a small town in Missouri. This was not on my radar. I moved down to the big city. These kids are like, hey, man, you ever heard Dungeons and Dragons? No, what's that? And they tried to explain it to me, and I couldn't fucking get it because, I'm a dumb country boy. And, well, come play with some. So I go over to their house on one Saturday, and I play this game. Well, the guy's older brother was the DM, and I think he was 16, maybe 17. And we all generated just random characters, and he put us, I think, at 10th or 12th level when, and here I am, I haven't played the game before, and he ran Tomb of Horrors. Okay. For a bunch of inexperienced, like 9, 10, 12-year-old kids. And I guess really that kind of set a mood, and it wasn't explicit advice like somebody actually said this, but in very early on for a couple of years, I was under this impression that the game master was an enemy of the players. They were there to kill the characters, and the character, the player characters were adversaries. And I think that was probably one of the worst. The second worst advice I ever got was, hey man, you should create a Twitter account.
Oh, yeah.
As far
Well,
as
different-
the worst advice
Yeah.
you can ever get for gaming is to make a Twitter account. There's nothing on Twitter that is going
Yeah.
to make your game better
I will
or make you feel better about the people who make games or play games. Twitter, I walked away from my first couple days of Twitter thinking to myself, the male lonely epidemic is fucking real. Like these fucking badass geeks.
I will quote another good friend of mine that I've been gaming with for a few years now online, Wib Stobson. He's on my Discord server. He occasionally appears in chat here. He once, God, it was like 6, 7, 8, 9 months ago. He just randomly DM'd me and he goes, "Hey, do you remember when talking about games
Fun,
online
yeah.
was fun?" And I was like, yeah, but like, there's so much controversy. You know what I mean? You say one stupid fucking thing, and it's like, But
it doesn't have to be a stupid thing. You can just say something. It can be very, very reasonable. And the
I like
people will
ice
come
cream.
out of the
Fuck
out of the
you,
wall.
you columnist.
It's like fucking aliens.
so you wanted Gary
It's
to
like-
have cancer?
Yeah, it's like aliens. They're coming out of the fucking walls, man. It's just crazy. Yeah.
How does one give advice like that? How does one? I mean, I know we've seen it. We've sat at tables where the DM is a bit adversarial, right?
Yeah.
So is that a learned? So are we saying that maybe the advice we're getting is basically it's not spoken of. It's simply
Yeah.
illustrated in the
You learn
way
by
they do it.
example. That's how I do it.
They're
right?
right.
Yeah.
You're learning this by example.
I'm gonna tell you real quick. When I was a kid, first playing D&D in the 80s, that whole DM being your adversary, I thought was normal.
Right.
Like
I
it
never
was a
experienced
very like you had dungeon. I'm gonna plan a dungeon so deadly you'll never be able to get through it. You know.
Was it just you, Gary, or all the other characters too?
No, I remember the guy. He was older than everybody.
I saw that, Mike.
Yeah, I think
He's
the first girl I kissed was the girl he had a crush on for like 4 years, and I think he was about 2 years older than me. He was a sad case. But it was very much an adversarial kind of thing. And then I remember well, I say when I left home, what time? Like when I moved up to Chicago in my mid-teens, I remember there were 2 D&D groups, and one was the DM was incredibly adversarial, and it was just accepted. That's the way it was. And the second group, somehow I wandered into like the math club's fucking D&D group, and they were it was the first like structural kind of
Crunchers.
yeah, the first procedural. I was like, oh shit, this is how you're supposed to play the game. but the whole adversarial thing was very normal in the 80s. I don't feel like it was unusual at all.
My experience with that lasted about a year to 18 months. I'm a self-taught game master. I never got advice from anybody because I didn't have a mentor or anything. I didn't have a community or a group to go to. Like, I lived in the sticks. The gaming store was like an hour drive away. So if I wanted to go to the gaming store, I had to wait for my mom to have to go do some shopping or some shit that would tangentially get me near the gaming store. So I didn't have a group. So I had to learn for myself. And the first like year to 18 months, like I thought I was just supposed to draw dungeons filled with traps and monsters. So in a sense, it was adversarial. Like, how can I make this hard? But I started gaming in like the late 80s, like 88, 89. And then the Hickman revolution hit. And, you know, my buddies, we read Dragonlance. And then all of a sudden we started thinking in terms of epic stories and the more adventure path style of gaming. And I was never adversarial. It was really more about, dare I say it, the story. It was the and how the players' actions impacted the world and what was going on. And we had a blast. I had a campaign start in 1990, I think it was. And it lasted until about 2000, 2001. I mean, it wasn't consistent. We'd stop for a little while and try something else for like maybe 3 to 6 months. And then we get back to quote unquote the campaign, as my players would refer to it. And we had a blast. And this is one of the reasons why I don't think sandbox play is the end all and be all. I have demonstrative proof. Like I had a 10-year campaign, which was a like Dragonlance style fucking story. But I've never, the adversarial, by the time I was like really into the game and the hobby, the adversarial game master was sort of an anathema. Like it was just someone like you'd make fun of. And we did have one of those guys in our group for just a minute, you know, and we could tell he was that guy. When he was a player, he was that guy. And as a game master, he was that guy. Like we just were like, this guy is just out for himself. And we got rid of him pretty quickly. So we never really had to deal with the adversarial.
Yeah, it's a communications game, right? It's
role
play. All role playing games are contingent. Their success is contingent upon, you know, good communications with everybody involved. You know, you have to be able to talk to people. You have to be able to listen to people and pick up on the clues and you know, how the game is progressing and so forth. And if you don't have those skills, or you have some freaking sociopath sitting at the table, you know, who's doing their own thing, you know, God bless them, whatever. But that's not going to work. So, and those things usually work themselves out, right? Those people usually disappear from the game or take the in, or you just kick their butt out and go, this is not fun. Because the number one rule is this all has to be fun. Or we're not going to bother doing it. We all have other jobs in real life.
I think Matt mentioned something here when he mentioned Dragonlance, and I think that's really where the shift started to happen. And from my personal experience, what I saw. Now, granted, I wasn't hanging out with Gary. I wasn't from coast to coast, right? I was in either Dallas-Fort Worth area or in the Missouri, Kansas City area, growing up as a kid, back and forth between parents. And everybody that I played with up until about the time, and there were 2 modules that came out. One was Dragons of Despair, the first Dragonlance module, and the other one was Ravenloft, and I forget which was published first, but they were very close together, like they were both published within a 6-month time frame. And,
well, they were both written by Hickman.
And so when those modules were published and they got out there, they were very, very popular at that time. And we're talking around 83, 84 era. And that's when the shift happened from this more adversarial DM kind of thing that I had been brought up through, when suddenly it shifted into more of the players are the heroes. And while the DM should be fair and balanced and run a good game, they're not actively trying to impede the party's progress or be the, you know, they're not operating as an enemy here. They're educating the world.
Right. The DM is not supposed to work against the party. It's supposed to present a world in which is working against them. The world is, but not the DM or GM, as somebody said in the chat. So
yeah, and unfortunately, the problem with, and I'm going to catch some hate here, because I love Dragonlance and I love Ravenloft for what they are, but those 2 modules are some of the most railroad type modules you'll ever see in your fucking life. And it's because they're more about story. And you're setting the stage for this grand epic adventure, and certain things need to happen in order for that to progress. You got your story beats, as a lot of people call them nowadays, right? And you've got to hit those. And if you don't, then shit falls apart. You can't run the module as written if it doesn't. And so that's really where I think the beginning of this heavy-handed story narrative railroad shit started. I love those modules. I think they're absolutely great. They were game changers. They really opened a lot of people's eyes. I appreciate the fact that they removed some of that adversarial DM style play, but I think maybe that some people took it too far in the other direction.
Yeah, trying to duplicate a book they read,
Right.
Which is funny because it comes from a game that they were running, which probably wasn't a railroad. You know,
Well, people play Hyperborea, but that doesn't mean they play Conan, right? Or they play, they might play a Melnibone thing, but they're not Elric or.
Well, and I got to tell you, I'm just rediscovering the whole like true idea of player agency. You know, I feel like I've just been rediscovering that in the past few years, because I think sometimes people think of, whenever you hear player agency, it's such a bullshit term that people throw around. But I always just thought, well, as long as the players can do whatever they want, you're good. But it goes deeper than that. You know, you can't have that story. You can have NPCs that act like, bumpers in a pinball machine. You can have these things, but you've got to let the players, true player agency, in my opinion now, and this is over the past few months, everything comes from the players. There is no story if your players aren't making that story happen.
I think in general you're right, Gary. I really, really do. But I think that there's also an element of the players you have at your table. And this is my personal opinion. If you've got good players are going to invest, they're going to bite the hook, right? Mike talked about the hook earlier. They're going to bite that hook. You throw the hook out there, they're going to bite, because they know that they have a responsibility to the table to get things moving along too. So we're going to bite this hook because this is obvious. So we're going to go with it. Now they might get off the rails a little bit, or whatever, for lack of a better word, or not. Maybe they'll go this way. Maybe they'll go this way. Maybe the DM doesn't have rails, whatever. But the fact is that if you set out an adventure hook and you've got a bunch of players who are like, no, screw this. We're gonna go start we're gonna open a hot dog stand in the city. You know what I mean? Player agency needs to be self-regulated by the players, in my opinion, to a certain degree. I mean, come on, guys, you want to have fun and you want to get treasure and fight monsters and do epic things, then don't intentionally try to bypass all, everything that the GM has set up, whether they're doing zero prep or not. I mean, I guess zero prep actually handles that probably better than a prepped world.
Well, if I may, just briefly, I think that's where consequences come into play. And I don't think a game master who says, okay, I have this faction, this evil faction, we'll say, this cult that has these goals and they're doing this thing, and they seed adventure, quest, whatever, to the players, and the players choose not to take them, and the players go do their other thing, and the game master rightfully says, okay, you're going to ignore the cult, fair enough, right? And the game master does whatever with them. The game master is not doing anything wrong, advancing the timeline.
I agree.
And I think some people think that might be an issue.
I disagree.
I don't know. Well, I would disagree with that too. Because I think consequences. I mean, if you're going to be in a living and breathing world, there's going to be consequences to your action and inaction.
Right. If you don't stop the cult, the undead show up at your city with your hot dog stand, and
Yep.
that's what happens. And then suddenly that's now they're in a different ball game.
Well,
Apparently, it's Brooklyn. Sorry. Anyway, I don't know why.
Personal now.
Or New Jersey,
Yeah,
maybe.
New Jersey.
Okay.
Forget about it.
All right.
Forget about it.
real quick before
Forget about it.
we go off,
Give me sausage with relish and onions and
I was the victim to this advice for probably a long time, but most evidently in the last game I tried to do that had any kind of story in it. And it was the idea of keeping players engaged by moving the story along, keep moving things, pushed forward as a GM. Not necessarily a railroad, but to always be giving them something to react to, something that keeps them moving and going. And that's really bad advice. And it seems to make sense, right? You want your players doing shit. But I would argue that it is better to give the players a mission and sit back and not say too much.
Well,
or do too
well,
much.
and but
I
as an
was
old school
just-
guy, as an old
Go
school
ahead, go
guy
ahead.
coming from the early days, that's what fucking wandering monsters and random encounters are for, right? And Kelsey fucking nailed that in Shadow Dark with time being an issue, right? Your torches last 1 hour of real time, guys. You can't sit here and quibble over, this or that, or be screwing around or be indecisive. You've got to take fucking steps. And that's really one of the great things about the OSR and what Kelsey did both, because she understood that philosophy is you've got to incentivize the players to move things along on their own. Right.
And the DM can help a little bit with that. If they've chosen the mission and they're starting to get fractured, or they get squirrel, and they're like, things are happening, you can help. I mean, and I'm talking about mildly nudge, right? We're talking about just nudging in a direction or something, without railroading. I think, that's a proper, a proper course of action for a DM. It says, look, they've chosen the mission. Let me help them do that. Now, if they want to go off another way, then that's another thing. But I think you can help them out. Give them a little nudge.
We talked about communication skills earlier, right? And as a GM, we all read the table, and there's times with certain groups where they're just gelling and they're running with it, and you don't have to do as much. You're just sitting back and because they're talking through what they want to do. They're making decisions. And then there's other nights where they're just sitting on their hands and nobody is leading anything. And you have to keep pushing them and reminding them, and that's when you just want to kill them. But
Well, I think this is where I think having a little bit of prep is good, where you can drop something. Like I have a couple modules, Lamentations modules, mind you, for my Gods of the Forbidden North campaign. In the event that I have, I know, and the new releases are dropping soon, folks.
Get them here first.
Well, no, I wish. But I do have a couple of those ready to go in the event that I show up to, because my in-person gaming crew, we gather once a month. So, but in the event that they're like, we don't know what to do, I can just go. What I plan on doing, and Gary, this is gonna sound familiar. I'm gonna get comfortable with silence. I'm gonna ask, "What are you guys doing?" And when they look at each other uncertain, I'm just going to sit and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. And then I go, all right, this is what happens. And then I'll drop one of these modules, right? And I think, Gary, to like what you were saying earlier, like, yeah, a game master doesn't need to feel like they have to do something. You need to get comfortable with silence. And we talked about this, you and I, a little while back with your West Marches game. Like, players are going to have inaction. Now, in my really real job, we have a technique where we'll ask a question and just basically look at the person we're questioning and just wait. and they'll start providing. They'll give you everything you
People
want.
don't like silence, so
As a
they'll just
game
open up.
master,
They're afraid of silence.
exactly. Get comfortable with the silence and let your players open up, and then you can feed off of that. It works in the legal biz, and
I was a
works as game
stockbroker
master.
for like almost 4 years when I came out of college, Shearson, Lehman Brothers and stuff. And we were all smile and dial. We didn't meet people in real life. We called across the country, one coast to the other throughout the course of the day. And we were taught, that tactic of silence and asking for the order and do not talk. Do not talk again. Even if you're sitting there for 5-10 minutes in silence, wait for that guy to answer one way or another. And we were taught the first one who talks loses or doesn't get what they want,
Yeah, exactly. We would. Oh God, I'm sorry. I'm going on this tangent. I remember when I was learning cross examination and depositions and whatnot. It was just like silence is. They didn't actually say this, but it was like silence can be your friend. Just let them talk. And it's the same thing when you're game mastering. Let your players talk. Just don't interrupt them. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier with like over prep in your world. There's nothing wrong with building a world. Have fun, enjoy it. You're a game master. Be that master. But don't force it on your players. Introduce them to it. Let them run with it. And just listen to them and see what they do.
And I want to offer one thing, Matt. When we started talking about, I call it the shut the fuck up secret. When we started talking about that, it was not with this OSC game. It was with the row.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
The row,
yes.
We were using a Marvel superheroes clone called Heroic. I love Phase Rip.
The Gen X GM.
So it's Gen X GM, whatever. And because that's such a story-based game, I had a timeline of things I knew I wanted to have happen. And I was going to space these things out, as the characters did things. But my play group was sort of half OSR guys, and they didn't really get what was going on. And so I pulled a lot of those triggers like every other session. I was like, well, fuck, this happens, this happens, this happens. And it wasn't until the end of that campaign that I was like, fuck it, you know what? I am not saying shit. And I sat back and the players took over.
They sensed that you were,
And
that was a
not
story
for nothing.
Game.
Yeah, not for nothing. Like we were dialed in and ready to play whatever Gary had. But and Gary, this is not to knock you as a game master at all, but up until you finally said relinquish control, that's when I feel like all our characters came to life because we got to be who we wanted to be. You know what I mean? Like I remember like it was like every session like a new thing we had to fucking deal with. It was like fuck, but then we had a chance to just think about it. And like I said, get comfortable with silence.
Yep.
As a game master, let the players fill that void.
Absolutely.
Depends on the GM style. A guy like me, I talk too much, so I have a hard time with that. And then others are more the quiet type, and they have to talk more. It just depends on which end of the spectrum you come from with your own skills.
Hey, Erudite, I want to ask a question. Have you had a chance to look at Chubby's Shadow City yet?
Yeah, for about 40 seconds at the table in North Dallas when he was playing Vampire Masquerade. He goes, "Hey, take a look at this."
Yeah. Okay.
I'm like,
when you
like a drug dealer, just punching it over to you.
Right?
Yeah.
The reason I say,
hey, you guys like Shadow Dark games?
Yeah,
I got Shadow Dark games.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because I feel like, and I feel like I'm blowing smoke up Chubby's ass right now because I think he did such a good job with Shadow City. But I think Shadow City.
Yeah, no, that ain't. It's not the ass.
It's whatever.
You're supposed to be better than that, Flint.
But I think Shadow City, because he put those sort of daily turn rules in there, and because he put some extra stuff in for the GM, I think that's a game that lends itself to shutting the fuck up. Like if you're just following the
Oh, yeah.
rules of that game is a very, here's the world. You're going to do some prep at the beginning, and then your players are going to run ramshot through it. You just kind of back up, you know.
I did look at it just briefly, Gary, and I think you were at the table next door. Maybe you and Matt were playing Horde War or
Probably.
something.
Yeah,
So
we were.
about a couple of weeks ago, I guess, on Discord, I did give him some off the wall zany ideas for Shadow City that he kind of chuckled and then said, "Well, look, I've got to be somewhere," and he got other, but they were all based kind of like on what we do in the shadows kind of stuff. And I don't think he's watched. How can you play a vampire game and not watch what we do in the shadows? The series, not the movie.
I've watched that series, and I would love it if I had a group of players for Shadow City that kind of just started doing that. That would be hilarious.
Yeah,
and I would love it.
well, I know it's not supposed to be a funny game, but
right. Well, and that's the thing is, I think that we were talking earlier, and I think Dying Breed brought up the Dragonlance module. And I think that's really where things did kind of take the turn because, I remember being real young and playing a game and it was like, this is where you're at. This is what you see. What do you do? Right. And then I even remember saying, okay, so my guy, no. You can't say your guy. What do you do? Okay. Well, I walk forward. And you know what I mean? It was this very different thing.
yeah.
And I think the over prepping, railroading kind of thing did it. So anyway, bad advice. Flint.
Yes. I would say that once again, if I could add to the bad advice list, and once again, advice I've given myself, I believe, is that you should, and Kyle alluded to this earlier, run an adventure as is, right? For a
Interesting.
So
Okay.
I don't think I ever run an adventure as is. I think I read it, and I prep a session, and I don't because I know my table, and I'm going to go, well, I could run it as is, but I don't think that's going to work. Or I think because I've reviewed adventures, right? And so I'm going, this is not good adventuring. This is not, I have to change a whole thing here. I have to change a whole plot scheme to make this thing work. And guys that'll read an adventure and say, well, I'm going to run it this way. And once again, that's probably newer DMs that say, hey, this is the thing. And they don't know yet to, they don't have maybe the experience to say, I'm going to leave that out, or I'm going to swap these things, or I'm going to change something up because I think that would be, sometimes we take, modules or adventures just as gospel that we think, well, they wrote it. They're professionals. And yet I've read a ton of terrible adventures. In fact, I'm writing an adventure right now that I hope doesn't suck, but these are very linear. This is my first adventure. So in other words, I don't think I'll ever write a linear adventure. I don't think I'll ever write, it starts here and it ends here. I just don't think I'm that kind of writer in that sense. So the sandbox that I'm creating with, whether it's rumors, that my hope is that I'm giving a DM. Oh, the glasses are coming on. Watch out. Something bad is about to happen.
Come on, drink number 4.
So
Q Smuggler's Blues.
Yeah, right. There we go. So I'm trying to write it to give the DM a loose format where there's some sort of interconnecting thread, but not this is what you have to do to make the things work. Because there's a lot of things in an adventure that if you don't do the thing, well, the adventure will kind of, fall apart maybe. But I just don't ever run adventures as is, unless they're short or unless there's lots of room to do a lot of things in it that I can mess with to make it adaptable for my table.
Like Keep on the Borderlands is pretty adaptable, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Compared.
I wouldn't call that an adventure.
I think everybody has a different level of suspension of disbelief, right? Where you read a module, you read an adventure, all 5 of us can read it, but we're going to have different levels of, that just doesn't sound right to me. I don't like that, right? Well, now you're being subjective, right? It doesn't mean it's wrong or anything. It's just whatever that part of the module is doesn't work for me. I don't like it. And the 4 of you think it's great and you just keep it in there. And that's okay, Paul. I think that's perfectly acceptable for you or any GM to kind of make it your own. Especially like you said, because you know your players and you probably know better than anybody what they're going to buy and what they're going to go, oh, great, another one of these.
Yeah. I think Flint's right. You running adventures as is, especially pre-published modules, running them as is. I mean, number one, that's just hard. And two, I think that's probably really bad advice. I think that one of the things that I'm a context guy. Like, I like historical context. Now, that doesn't mean I always agree with the logical conclusions of that context, and sometimes I'll do things my own way. But I think we all need to step back sometimes and realize that this game was invented by basically war gamers, right? That's where it came from. And so they would get together on a Saturday afternoon and play until the wee hours of the morning, and we're going to reenact the Battle of Waterloo on this fucking sand table, and you're the Napoleonic forces. And
why do we have to say Waterloo every time, Kyle?
Well, because that's the
Friedland or Eylau or one of Napoleon's victories. Why focus on Waterloo?
I do not have your culture. I'm not as educated as you are, and that's the first thing that came to mind.
You have offended Erudite's historical senses.
Well,
he's very particular about his history and his French.
Okay, well, take a fucking number. I offend everybody.
Yep, look out.
But
welcome to Nerd
but my point is so then you transition over to this fantasy role playing, and so thanks to Judges Guild, they start putting out these modules, right? And so the modules are very much in the same vein. It's like, you don't sit down at the war game to play Napoleon versus somebody other than, fighting a battle other than Waterloo, which I don't know any. And then say, well, we're going to be Vikings. That doesn't work, right? No, these are the conditions. And so you get a module, and it's like, these are the conditions. There's, there's a village called Hamlet, and it's over here. And there's ruins nearby. And this is what you're going to do. And everybody kind of buys into that. So there's constraints on the game already. And that's what modules do, right? There's not a sandbox mod. I mean, as much as Keep on the Borderlands is very wide open, there's still fucking rails there. It's not rails in the sense of this happens and then this happens and this happens. This is the inevitable conclusion no matter what you do. It's just that this is the scenario, and if you step outside the boundaries of the scenario, you can still play, but you're no longer playing Keep on the Borderlands. Right? Does that make sense? Well, I don't know how. I've been drinking, man. I'll shut up.
I've been drinking too, bro.
I think you make perfect sense.
Yeah, I do. I think Village of Hamlet was the first one I remembered, and I know it depended on what modules you bought, right, in those TSR days. But that was the first one for me that kind of took us out of the dungeon setting. We had already done our own villages and town things on our own, but we had no models to look at for that, or in my little world. So Village of Hamlet was like, wow, a whole thing about just it's not all based, like the problem with Shadow Dark, where everybody thinks it's only a dungeon delver. No, there's all kinds. You can travel, you can go in the mountains, you can go in the forest, you can build a big city and play an urban campaign. So anyway, off my soapbox.
But bringing it back to Flint's point about playing, don't change the dungeon or play the adventure as written. Those early adventures were fucking half done, man. Like, if you played Keep on the Borderlands, I am half done for
I'm sorry, Gary. That was mean. You're full.
You can't. I need to interject though, because Gary, I know what point you're about.
But you understand what I'm saying?
But Keep on the Borderlands can't be used as an example. Keep on the Borderlands was a sandbox that is designed for like open world exploration.
Understood. But when you have a blank too,
when you have a module like, and I'm arguing with OSR Dwarf, well, not arguing, but we're chatting with OSR Dwarf in the comments. We're talking about B1 Search of the Unknown. It's a fucking dungeon, right? But you, the game master, had to fill it. And I'm like, motherfucker, I paid for this. Why aren't
That's
you telling
how I
me what's
feel
in
about
it?
that fucking thing too. God damn it.
Yeah, no, I hate B1. I fucking hate B1. And if I'm gonna put
I don't hate it.
B1, I'm gonna put B1 in my B1 is like proverbial, right? The editorial, the we. Okay, anyway. If I incorporate an adventure into my game, my campaign, I'm gonna make sure it fits. So there's gonna be adventures that just don't fit, and I'm just gonna have to I think a good game master will recognize, like, as much as I might like this one thing, it's not currently fitting my campaign, so hold it off. We'll use it later, kind of thing, right? But I don't think
fucking Chubby. Like, he's always right there. Like, I'm sorry, Matt, but every time you stop to think and you go, Chubby fucking just writes something, Sorry.
You know what, Chubby? You know what? I'm not going to be spiteful, but God damn it, man!
I'm gonna start a chubby.
You gotta learn.
I did one of those fake module covers one time. I took B1 in Search of the Unknown, and I just took that and I replaced the title, and it was a module called "Guys, I Think the Shrooms Are Kicking In."
Man, it's been too long.
That's good.
Hey, we had shrooms in our Shadow Dark. We had a bunch of rooms that had mushrooms in it.
Hey, you want to hear something funny? For my birthday, my girl went to the head shop, and here in Texas, everything is like almost illegal. And she bought me this big like shroom chocolate bar, and like the kids were gone for 3 days or whatever. And it said like eat 2 to 4 squares, and there was like 20 squares. And she hit them. She's like, "Look,
you're like the Hobbit that ate 10, right?"
I ate the whole fucking bar, dude. and we had reservations at one of those Brazilian restaurants. I had to like go outside and barf out on the fence in the parking lot.
Hey, if it was good enough for the Romans,
gotta eat too, man.
I'm just saying, don't buy half legal mushrooms. It's not worth it. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't even remember where I was. I was
Gary.
just saying I hate Search for the Unknown, and B1 sucks.
Yeah, and you can't, like Kyle said, you can't do Dragons of Despair, really. I mean, not as if you're gonna run it as written.
No, you can't, because I remember because I never read it when it first came out. I read the novels first. And then when I got into the OSR, I was like, you know what? I'm going to like study all this stuff, and I'm going to like look at all this stuff, and I'm going to read the original stuff, and I'm going to learn so much. And I read the first Dragonlance module, and my heart fucking sank, because it was just page after page after page of all this written shit that you had to read to your players. And I know as a hedge wizard, you don't fucking do that. And I read how, like, if your players don't talk to Gold Moon, you have to have Gold Moon show up periodically to get them to talk to Gold Moon. And it's just like, oh my God. Because initially I got excited because I saw the hex map. I'm like, oh my God, this was originally a hex crawl? This is so cool. And then I read deeper, right?
And somewhere in there is an adventure.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
It's buried.
It's there. But the key there is, and this is where I think Hickman made a misstep, because it's written in there. Like, eventually the dragon armies come south and they wipe everybody out. Like, consequences is how you deal with player action. All right. It's not railroading, but if you have this fucking massive thing happening, like the dragon armies and Takissus coming to life and blah, 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 your players have to deal with it. And maybe your players end up being fucking mercenary scumbags who don't care about saving the world. But they're mercenary scumbags in a world where Takissus is taking over. And that's the key. And real quick, I wanted to run a Wretched RPG, Wretched Bastards game using Dragonlance on that basis alone. I thought it would be awesome. Anyway, we got a real quick. Robert Stanton gave us $5 super chat. Thank you very much, sir. This is one for Chubby Funster. I'm not sure what you're giving him, but it's not the $5. We're keeping it. Anyway, thank you, sir.
I'm drinking that.
He's got a successful Kickstarter. He doesn't need it.
Drinking that
Anyway.
$5 at North Texas next year, bro. Here's to you.
Thank you, Robert. We appreciate
but one
it.
thing I want to mention, because Dragonlance gets shit on a lot, and I understand why.
I don't think it should.
The books are great.
Yeah,
and I also think people
Clearly, I like it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Oh, is that where you got your name from?
FlintFireforge.
I didn't even know.
What I want to say is that everybody's like, "Oh, the books were great. The modules sucked.
you know.
The books were great. The modules sucked." I've
The
been
modules did suck.
rereading. The modules did suck, and I've been rereading the books with my kids.
The books are awesome
because I'm that kind of dad. But one of the things I want to mention is that there was a setting book. If you're a fan of the Dragonlance books, nobody talks about that. There was an AD&D Dragonlance setting book without an adventure. It gave you the character class. Yep. It gave you the character classes you needed. So I almost feel like they should have given you, like they should have never done the adventures, but they should have done the setting book. It's beautiful, right?
I have that book. Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Because I was about to go get mine, Flint. Yeah.
and I hear people that are just discovering Dragonlance and they're like, man, fuck the Kinder. And then you have everybody, fuck the Kinder. I will admit, as a kid, Kinder kind of, when the Dragonlance books came out, Kinder gave you permission to do all the things that pissed off your other friends. But as an adult, I think you could get away with playing a Kinder, especially if it was your smart, funny friend. I think you get away with playing a Kinder and not fucking your game up.
Listen, that's where I was going to say, that's where that's what my character would do. Got a little old.
Yeah. And
I know your stuff.
Oh, what great bad advice right there. It's more for players, but not DM. That's what my character does. Fuck you.
But I mean, let's be honest. Tasselhoff was included in the story as a way to move the story along, right? Because everything that he did, his little kleptomania thing going on, there was always some sort of outcome, whether good or bad, that kept moving things forward. And I really see that was a storytelling device from the point of view of the novels, right? And then they put out the modules, and then they do the Dragonlance World Kryn, and it's like, okay, well, now we've got to include Kinder, right? And then everybody, and unfortunately, the vast majority of people who play, and probably myself included, don't have the sophistication to be able to understand that concept for what it is and utilize it in the proper way in a game.
I think that's fair. I here's a weird thing. We're talking about bad GM advice. I don't think anybody could have given good, or I don't think anybody gave any good advice that applied to playing a Kinder probably until now. Right? I think like that character, everybody played that character class like they were just little kleptomaniacs.
Yeah.
You know, it's not until we've matured and we've become adults that we could.
That's my point. Yep.
Yeah. If I'm agreeing with you. If I played a Kinder now, I would be playing it from the viewpoint of an insatiable curiosity. Right. And the means to satisfy that curiosity, because I'm sneaky as fuck. But as a kid, you just want to rob everybody's shit. You know, you just want to get everybody's stuff. So, but yeah, shit on Dragonlance, but it was a good setting. Yeah.
I recommend this book, by the way, if you want some great info. It's Leaves from the Inn of the Last Home.
I never had that.
It is a great little resource book for Dragonlance, just for seeds and for other little doodads and things. Highly recommend.
I think this is interesting because you have the One Ring now, and I know Flint's playing that some, right, Flint?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it would be like everybody playing the One Ring and wanting to be Aragorn or Gimli or Legolas, or tie yourself into the quest for the ring that mimics what happened in the Lord of the Rings. That would be a mistake, probably, because there ain't no way to do that without railroading. That you're not going to feel happy. You're not going to be happy with anything happening other than what happened in the book. So why play that again? I like the idea from what I see from afar of One Ring, and that instead of doing that, they let you play ahead in the fourth age, or behind in the second age, or maybe first age too, or in the third age. But you're playing other characters, right? Am I right, Flint? Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, you roll up new. Basically, you're rolling up your new character. Now, in the first 5 adventures that are supposed to teach you the mechanics, basically, different people will put, Balin the dwarf will jump in for a visit, or Bilbo will be there in the Shire directing traffic a little bit, and sending them on little missions or things like that.
I got a question when you get done, Flint. Keep going.
No, that's it. I was just telling them that's
Okay, here's my question. You have 5 adventures to introduce players to mechanics.
Well, they build upon they're not necessarily, you can teach the mechanics as you go, but it's really meant to it's just practice. It's just practicing, what they're doing and leveling up, getting them ready to leave the Shire. So it's those 5.
Okay.
So it's right.
It's PC progression. It's not so much about a learning curve. Okay,
right.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
But I do think the five adventures do help with the mechanics to learn the various things that players will do. And like example, when they're like for combat, when they have those little cards that they give you that you have to say, well, I'm going to be far, or I'm going to be engaged in hand to hand. Like everybody's choosing what they're going to do. And then you have when you're traveling, that I'm a scout and I'm doing this. And so everybody's it's little bits and pieces like that repetition helps, I think, learning the game that way.
They don't have a gauntlet where you play like 5 different halflings who go into the prancing pony and start a bar fight or something with the Nazgul and see.
Hey, they started a bar fight. I can tell you that. They went into a place and they didn't go prancing pony, but they did in fact start a bar fight. So
probably
hobbits fighting in the bar. I like it.
I'm curious.
Everyone's OSR until it's time to be OSR.
So I've never played the One Ring, and I've made my feelings on Tolkien's.
I really want to play. I want.
Well, I've never played it, and I've made my feelings on Lord of the Rings clear. Here, I'm not a Tolkien devotee. But I'm curious: is it railroading if all your players need to be hobbits?
They don't have to be hobbits. They could be if they wanted to roll up. Now you have certain, because every adventure in the starting adventures happens in the Shire. You are given the preset character, pre-generated characters, which are hobbits for the most part. There are some other. You could be a dwarf. Then you have to say, well, why is the dwarf hanging out in the Shire anyway? What's he here for? And so you have to deal with some of that. But
yeah. No, I mean, and Gary, what you're asking is something that I brought up before on other shows, particularly our own show, our Cognito show, Saturday Speakeasy, is that people, they misconstrue the definition of player agency sometimes. And they think that player agency means no limitations whatsoever. Right? So if I'm running a game and somebody's like, I want to play a tiefling, but I don't have tieflings in my world. So how does that work? It's like, so they're like, well, now you're infringing on my player agency. No, I'm not. These are just the constraints of the game.
Before your agency began.
Right. But I mean, you don't sit down and play a game of chess and it's like, well, the bishop should be able to move horizontally and vertically too, not just diagonally.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have constraints. The player agency comes from, and creativity comes from operating within the constraints to create something new or different out of that, right? So it's so the people that Hyperborea is a great example. You're a human. Now there's different types of humans, right? But you can't play an elf, you can't play a dwarf, you can't play a halfling, you can't play anything. You're a fucking human. But so does that infringe on player agency? Just mechanically core rule book right out of the gate?
I don't think
no,
so.
I don't think it does. I don't think.
I don't think so. And
No.
actually, I'm more. The
No,
reason
it
I asked
doesn't.
that, I want to do a halfling thing, right?
Sure.
I want to do an old school game. I want to do it in the Shires. I have this whole idea about how this particular halfling society works. But the idea of telling players, "Hey guys, do you want to do an old school essentials game? You all have to play halflings. We've got a few different halfling classes, but everybody's a halfling, right?" I don't know that people would go for that.
Well,
You know what I mean?
Some people would.
If they say no.
I would be like, halflings with guns and sheepdogs they ride? Yeah. I'd be
Sheepdogs,
over it.
sheepdogs and lever action 30-30s. Yeah.
Let's do it, but I do think that I think the modern player, I remember my uncle's gaming club. And I remember them just knowing that there were going to be 3 games a month and they were going to be there. And when they got there, they probably knew what the game was ahead of time, but they didn't really think too much about it. They were just there to play a game, got the rules on a note card or whatever.
Yeah.
And that is not the situation we have right now. People want to read the rules. People want to know what the game's about. They want to get into the lore. So there is... I think there's more player now, actually, and players expect a certain amount of freedom. I can do whatever I want. It's a role-playing game.
And it's okay for a DM or a player to say, this is not my jam. Like if I'm running halflings, that's the game I'm running.
So we've only got a few minutes left. We've only got a few minutes left. And before the show...
Well, hold up.
Sorry.
Hold up. I'm willing to let this conversation keep going because it's been really good. But anyway, go ahead, continue.
Before the show started, Matt was talking about how one time I made a joke on our old podcast that nobody will ever hear because I got rid of it. But Matt was done with 5e and he was ready to move on, but he didn't think his players would go with him. And I made a joke. I said, well, you need to find new friends then. And what I really meant was that you shouldn't run a game you don't want to play. And if you want to run a different game and they don't want to go along with you, find people who want to run that game.
Exactly.
Right? And I believe that to be true.
No.
But
that's bad advice.
Matt disagrees.
Hold
on. Let me just finish, then I'm going to turn it over to you, Matt. I'm going to turn it over. Because I think it's about context. I think that
too.
When I said that, and I was being flippant and aloof, but I do kind of mean it. I was in a position at that point where I was used to having a pool of 16 to 20 something players who I could send a message out to on Facebook or a text and be like, hey, I'm thinking of running this game. And they would all be like, yeah, and I'd get enough people to play that game. After COVID, that's not my situation at all. 99% of my gaming is online. My group is across the country, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so you disagreed with that. You disagreed with just play a different game or get new friends or whatever. So let's do it because I think you should run the games you want to run.
Well, okay, so here's the bad advice that I'm going to raise, and it is probably going to be pretty controversial because if anybody who's watching this that is not dialed into the community and you're just stumbled upon my channel, you stumbled upon this short or whatever, there are talking heads out there. There are people who have, influence or whatever. They will tell you if you want to run a particular game and the people you're gaming with don't want to do it, they'll say, find new friends. find new gamers. I think that's fucking bad advice. And this is why. Those people who are uttering that pronouncement are people like me, are people like the 4 illustrious individuals that have joined me on this panel who I respect. They are people who run Discord servers. They are people who have published books and supplements and zines or whatever. These are people who have something to sell. They're not you. They are not 95%, and this is not a scientific poll. 95% of you. The vast majority of you who are game masters have a close-knit friends group who are into the same thing that you are, and you are not tapped into this vast network of potential players. Everyone I've played with online are game masters. Almost everybody, I should say. They are game masters that are just looking for new things. I'm not trying to provide you with game master advice in that narrow context. I'm trying to talk to you as a game master who has a core friends group. I am not going to tell you to abandon your friends because they don't like the idea that you have. I think our job as game masters, and I'm sorry for getting kind of heavy here because we've been having a good time here, but I think our job as game masters is to educate. I think our job as game masters is to elucidate. I think our job as game masters is to provide options to our gaming circles, however small they are, and try to find a middle ground so you can fucking game. So you can have fun. Now, to be sure, the internet allows you an opportunity to like find these avenues and find people that game with you. But there are people who will tell you, and Gary, when I mentioned this too, I wasn't like referring to that flippant comment you made all those years ago. But because you're not the only one. You're not the only one who has said that. And God damn it, I refuse to acknowledge that as a fucking valid point. Like, you're a game master. Fucking teach your gaming group, your friends, like find a way. And I think that is the more interesting question. How do you teach? How do you instruct?
Okay.
How do you introduce this new game system, this new play style? That's your job, man.
Well, I don't think that being a game master should encompass, like, I'm not the director of a movie. I don't have to pitch a project, right? Like,
but you are. No, no, because if you want a game, you got to get people to buy in.
I got you.
And if they're not going to buy in, you got to figure it out.
The other thing is I don't see, this isn't an exclusive relationship for me, right? Like, I'm not, like, if you get another dungeon master, I'm not gonna feel like you slighted me or you slept with somebody else behind my back, right? I mean, it's just the way it is. So, like, with any group of players, I'm gonna be, and this is what I mean. Let's say I've got my OSC guys, right? And I'm like, hey, you know what? I fucking want to play Shadow City. I want to do it once or twice a week. Here's what I'm thinking about doing. And they're all like, I'm not really down with that. It doesn't mean I'm not friends with those people anymore. It just means that I'm going to go try and make more friends. You know what I mean? I'm not afraid of people. I'm going to get a new group together and I'm going to play this game that I want to play.
Yeah, that's how I took your statement, Gary. I didn't literally take it to mean that you were going to dump in being your social.
Yeah. Now,
that's not what I'm saying either. That's not what I'm saying either.
Sort of,
what I'm saying is that, like, a game master shouldn't have to feel like, or not just a player who's like enjoying in the hobby shouldn't have to feel like, oh, hey, like, oh, I gotta like move on and find new players necessarily. I think the more interesting question is, how do you introduce new things to your players? And that's what I've been dealing with.
I'm
Frankly, on a
surprised
personal level,
that if you're running games for primarily a bunch of game masters or people who have run games before, that you would have that sort of issue.
well, that's my point. Like, I think
because as a game
lot of
master,
us
it's
in
like,
the
I'll fucking
industry
try anything, dude. You throw a
But I
pitch at me,
think-
it's like, yeah, I'm in. Let's go, man.
Oh, yeah,
But
but
Dying
when we
Breed,
start.
that's the issue, is that players aren't like that. Here's the thing. Players
Exactly.
come into role playing with whatever game it is they're playing. 5e, Shadow Dark, and that's their fucking game. They don't care. Dungeon Masters, look, there's no players going to North Texas Con. There's no players
No.
at Arnicon or anything like that. These are guys who
No.
are invested.
No.
And while I enjoy playing, my true joy is running a game. You know, I don't think there are no normies watching this channel. Everybody that watches me and Matt, they're a sweaty. I'm a sweaty, or I wouldn't have the channel. You know, it's just, that's just the way it is. So
Death's Angels on the comments, and he was saying in his case he doesn't have that group like Matt. You were saying, like Gary and I, and for all of us here have that group on Discord that you could probably float something out there. Go, hey, I want to try Pendragon for 3 months. Who wants to join? And you'll find people to play. Nothing wrong with that. In his case, he's saying he moved, I think, to Tennessee, and you know, he just doesn't have that group of friends, social network that he had before. And maybe he doesn't have that Discord group. Well, then, buddy, you know, you're like, if it's like me trying to play here in my little area around Houston, I would have to try to find people and bend over backwards and say, hey, do you want to play or Shadow Dark or whatever it is? That's a different thing. And that's okay. Neither one's really right or wrong. It's just dealing with the dynamic,
Well, that's kind of like
realities of what your friendship group might look like, and the people who might want to try a new game with you.
Well, that's kind of like my point. Like, I think a lot of the advice we see online is this like ivory tower sort of mentality, right? We're all game master. A lot of us are game masters. We're all just like looking to kind of connect. And as game masters, we have this like, I don't know, desire to have a better understanding of the game, and we are the more creative, the more outgoing player type in this hobby. Your average player don't give a shit at the end of the day. They just don't.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it, if you're some random person that happens to find my YouTube channel, I'm not going to tell you flat out, like, if you play this way, you're fucking weak and you're gay and you're stupid or whatever. You know, I'm trying to like provide like advice, like, hey, this is what I encountered with this particular situation. And I think there are advocates out there, like, if people aren't playing this particular style that is supposed to be this ultimate thing, go find new players. Now, I'm not trying to say don't broaden your friend base. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is a vast majority of us have a small player base. What we're actually seeing in our chat right now, right? And I don't think that's good advice, because it completely avoids the problem as opposed to actually solving it. Like, if you have a group of friends who like really are into 5e, and I was that guy, how do you get them to try something new and different when they're fucking like, oh, Matt Mercer is the best, blah blah blah? That was my issue like a few years ago.
Suicide attempt.
Like, if I were to take some of these talking heads seriously, I was supposed to find new friends. That's stupid. That's dumb. I have since found a way to incorporate, and I think that's the more interesting conversation, and that's what will make you a better game master.
Well, that has nothing to do with the game.
That's my
though.
purpose.
That has nothing. I think
it's got nothing. has everything
No,
to
it
do with the game,
doesn't.
because you have to understand what the players are looking for and why they think this particular style of game is what's best or whatever, and why they're ignoring this other thing that you're trying to introduce. It's about communication. It's about
Well,
education.
How do you do that, Matt?
Well, right now I've been bashing my head against a brick wall and taking my lumps. But at the end of the day, with this particular game system I'm running right now, Gods of the Forbidden North, my in-person gaming crew, who have been the most how do I want to say, adversarial and stubborn player agency. I'm like, look, this is what you can literally do whatever you want, but this is the world I'm going to play in. And I sort of like stated it in such a way as like, this is what I want to have to have fun. I'm a game master. I'm a player too. I've just taken on this particular role in the game. This is the game that I want to play to have fun too. And they've met me in the middle in a sense. So it's about compromise. Right. It's about communication.
Everything is negotiable,
you know what I mean?
but we should all be gaming polygamists. You know, I'm not married to I don't have a regular play group, right? I did probably a year ago with my friends from high school. We played for 2 years. They played whatever, right? If my gaming group only wants to play Daggerheart, I'm not running that game. I don't care what they ask me to do. I'm not going to run it because it's not fun for me.
Yeah, too much.
So if it's a system that my players, whoever they are, say, I don't want to run that. That's just not my jam, and I'm not gonna run it. Or draw steel or whatever. So that Chubby put in there. I'm not going to run it. Yeah. So listen, we could compromise, but I'm also, if there's a game I want to play or there's a setting I'm going to do, you know, I'm the opposite of your group. I'm the hard-headed DM that says, well, I don't have to run anything. Y'all can go and get online, and the DMs are the ones that are, if you want to go find another, like Gary said, if you want to go find a DM, go ahead. I mean, it's not going to hurt my feelings. I will go and I will get online. I'll find 5 people that want to play, and you're going to go.
But I'm looking back at when I was growing up and learning to game master. I had a gaming group. I did not have connection to anybody else. This is who I was gaming with. And if they said, sure, we'll play Palladium's Robotech, right? Or they might say, no, Palladium's Robotech ain't cool. Like, it's a give and take with the game master. Like, I can walk the amount of power I have is the amount of the gun laws in my current state. Like, I can show up with a fucking loaded pistol and say, no, we're going to play this game, right? But
if both sides are unyielding, like, right, that's where the problem is. It's negotiation.
And I think a lot of the advice that comes from these like, oh, go find new players. It's like, what perspective are you coming from? Like, sure, Gary, like, he's had like various groups here and there, but I don't think, all due respect, Gary, I don't think you're the norm. I don't think a lot of us who are talking heads on YouTube are the norm. We have the luxury of being connected and being passionate, and that's all good. But I think a vast majority of us are just a bunch of fucking nerdy motherfuckers, probably most likely in our teenage years, who just have a friends group and like they're interested in a certain thing and the game master's in a certain thing. How do you navigate that is the issue. And telling people, oh, go find new friends, I think is fucking retarded. I just think that's retarded.
I don't know if I do agree with that, Matt. I think that if we were talking about this 30 years ago, I would agree with you that yes, the group that you've been playing with for this long is your group and yada, yada, yada and all that. But I just don't think that's the world we live in anymore. I think there's any number of ways on the internet to connect with other people. I think that's the main thing right there, is just that we can connect with the world like we never could before. And it's not about fuck your friends and all that, as it is, it's about, Matt, I don't know if you remember this the way I do, and I kind of wish that Brian was here, because you were fucking miserable. This hobby that you put so much time into, and that you love so much, where you were with the hobby at that time, you were dreading games. You were talking about games like you were going to get a rectal examination.
Gary, I'm still playing with those
I know,
guys.
I
No.
know.
I know where you're
But-
going with this argument, but I'm still
I
playing with those
understand.
guys, and I've
And-
figured out. No. Hear me out, because I know your argument. You're gonna say like, oh, hey, maybe you should find some new players. I figured out. I found the solution, and the argument is not to find new friends; it's to figure it out, because those are your buddies. These are the people you're.
I understand
with.
that, but what I'm trying to get to is that you can't take away your part of it, right? Like I understand they're your buddies.
Compromise is not taking away.
It's not just compromise. If you're
Because at the end of the game, we want
hang
to
on.
play, right? We want to
I
run a
don't
game.
No, I will draw a fucking line. There are games I don't want to run. I'm not
Mom and
running
Dad are
that
fighting.
game.
I don't like it.
This is the show, bro. This is
We
it.
are.
This is what we do.
Yeah,
welcome to the show.
Welcome. Yeah, second one.
What I'm saying is that your players, you're friends with them, and that's great and everything else. But if you're not having fun, and you've expressed that you're not having fun, and you want to do something different, and in a 5e game especially, that means you're our fucking clown, go juggle for us.
Right.
Like you just can't do that. And your players, the reason you're saying what you're saying is because you have a personal relationship with these players. But I will tell you that those players, I'll bet you $1,000, none of them have run a campaign. None of them have done the work.
That's not true, though. You owe me $1,000.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, Gary.
Spoken like
I'll
a
do
true
respect.
lawyer.
All due respect. Yeah, no, that's all right.
He is a true lawyer.
I just want to know. I just
I
want to
know.
know if they get
Yeah.
divorced, who am I going to live with?
Me.
Well, he is the funner one.
Fight for
I
me,
don't know.
Dad.
My
I'm
point
fun
is,
dad.
my
I'm fun dad.
But well, look. My point is, I think the idea that you are to find new players because people categorically disagree with some new idea that you want to present to them, I think is just bad. As a game master, your job, you're a master of games. Your job is to educate them and find a way to slide it in. My Gods of the Forbidden North campaign is a fucking prime example of this shit. They have been slowly understanding one-to-one time. They have been slowly understanding all the stuff they can do with downtime. And it has, it's been a process. But like if I took, and again, I'm not going to name names. If I took the fucking advice from some of these talking heads, I would not have the amount of fun I'm having right now in my Gods of Forbidden North campaign with my friends of like, I don't know, multiple decades at this point, because I'm an old fuck. And that's just some bad advice. I think go find new people, find new players. No, you are a game master. Fucking try to find a way to educate them and instruct them and ease them into these new play styles.
We hear your argument, and I just want to ask, if that's the case, then just like that section in every role-playing game that we all skip over, the what is a role-playing game section, do you propose that in every game master section there is a little 2 paragraph to 2-page article like how to convince your players to play this game? Because what you're saying is that the skill of a game master somehow needs to go into the salesmanship of the game or the pitch of the game, right? Like all this shit of you making worlds and you doing all the things and drawing all the dungeons is great. But what you're proposing is now I'm supposed to be a salesman. I'm supposed to go to a group of people and be like, hey, you know what? I'm not really having fun with this, but there's this great new game. And for $55.95, you can buy a copy too. And here's what I like about it. And da 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 da. And you got to go through a sales pitch. Fuck that, dude.
Every game you did that with your Western Marches.
Yeah,
game.
but I don't take
everyone has to fucking provide a pitch.
But
and you have,
but if
everybody does. But when you're like talking to when you're talking about a new potential game style or a new way of approaching whatever you've been playing, of course a game master has to do that. That's not a sales pitch. That's just like, hey guys, I want to try this new game.
So
if players are resistant and they're like, well, this is not what Critical Role would do, or they're like, oh, this is not what Gary Gygax would do. Well, you as a game master, like if you really want to try this, you should try to explain this to your players and provide some way to do it. Maybe it and here's the question I'm trying to get at. Like the issue is not, should I dump these players and find people who agree with me? It's how do I educate these people in this new game
I don't
style?
understand.
To me, that's the game master position.
That's the
like,
job
how do I
of
do
a
this?
marketer, not a game master.
I don't understand any of this. I don't understand any of this. And coming as let's say I'm a player, right? And I've, Matt's running it, or Balthazar's running it, or Gary's running it. It's like, dude, I'm buying in. You're my friend. It's like, you know what? Maybe Palladium Robotech is not my initial first choice, but I'm going to give it a go. If you say, I really think this is going to be fun, fuck, let's try it out. And, in 4 weeks from now, if we know it's not fun, then that's when we have the conversation. But you don't, know what I mean? I mean, I don't understand people that are be like, no, absolutely not. I'm not going to fucking try it. I really don't. I really don't. I would be willing to try one time if I had the fucking time. I don't. It's one of those situations where it's like, I don't want to be in character all the fucking time. I can't do that.
That's
I have
not
a
the way it
goddamn
works.
Life, right?
Dying breed. That's not the way it works. I just want you to know.
It is the way it works because you got to be on a fucking distance.
No.
You got to be
guys. The both of you are misunderstanding. Who cares about how it works? The issue is he willing to try it or not?
I'm willing to try it, but I can't be on a Discord. I can't be, at the beck and call of a fucking Discord server.
And this is my point. Like, this is my point. Like, there's going to be players like Dying Breed who are like, hell, this is my issue. And he's not an asshole. He's not retarded. He's not gay. He's not fucking weak sauce. He's not whatever the fucking appellation is on social media. He's just your friend who wants to play games with you.
Right.
God damn it. So the solution to the problem is not find a new player group. It's solve.
Dude, I fucking hate giant robots. I always have. I'd play it.
This attachment,
and you know what? If I wanted to play a game with giant
just,
robots, if I wanted to play a game with giant robots, Kyle, and you were part of my game, I'd try to find a way to, maybe educate you.
I'd give it a shot.
I think it's really bad fucking advice to say, go find a new player because you're like minimizing and diminishing your role.
No, that's bullshit.
Yes,
that's so far away from, bro.
That's wrong. That's false.
Out of here.
You're a game master.
But a game master, you don't gotta be like the skills you propose a game master have now all of a sudden veer into the territory.
Gary, you got a red, you got a white and black striped suit.
I
You
am
are-
not
I
done
don't-
speaking.
whatever.
Let me make my point, please, sir.
I
What
have
you
to
are
use
telling
that.
me
Okay, go ahead.
is that I must acquire and utilize the same skills as the old man that used to come to my grandmother's door and knock on it and say, ma'am, I have a new cleaner for your carpet that works better than the cleaner you already have. Do you mind if I come in and show
I don't
you?
know what you're talking about.
What I'm talking about is what you are proposing is that I'm supposed to have some kind of interpersonal skills to away from the game. Hey man, I know you don't want to. I know you don't want to. I know you love the 5V and you spend all the money on the 5V.
No,
but bro, I love you, man, and I want to try this new game.
Gary.
Come
Some of
along
us,
with me on this
have
journey, bro.
close
I
friends.
love you. Come
we've
on,
been
man.
gaming
Don't
with
make me
for
play it alone.
Gary.
This is the
some of
fucking
us-
guy that wants
some of
everybody
us-
to play Hobbits.
Yeah, Gary.
It
Gary.
is,
Some of
it
us.
is.
Yeah, Gary. Some of us have long-standing friendships that we've been gaming with for decades. And if they don't want to play the game that I want to play, but I want to play a game with them, I have to think about that. That's something I have to consider. That's my point. Now, if I were to take the fucking talking head seriously, and I guess apparently you, I should say, sorry guys, I'm not going to play with my long-standing friends, even though that maybe, like I said, a vast majority of us, that's the only gaming group we have. Like, I dare you to produce evidence that suggests that like the majority of gamers have that connection where they can say, oh dude, you don't want to play Palladium Robotech? All right, I'll go find someone else. That's not the case. That is not the case. We are still in the minority, socially speaking.
I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't think
we are
so.
still in the. Well, where's your evidence?
The evidence is
I
would say the
I have 30
majority of
years.
gamers
I have
who are
30
not-
years of experience of being an outcast. Okay, I'm sorry, bro. You don't have the evidence.
what I'm
Anyway.
telling you, this is the main. Let me ask you a question. We're gonna get to the bottom of this once and for all. All right.
No,
Let's
that's
say
wrong.
you
Go ahead, ask your
No, this
question.
is a
I'm
question.
kidding.
Let's say you have a group of 5 players, and you're and Matt, you got to understand, when I was talking to you, I wasn't talking to you from their point of view. Fuck their point of view. I was talking to.
I'm talking from their point of view, though. That's the point you're missing. All right, go ahead. Go ahead. Jesus Christ.
What, baby?
Oh, he's getting called away.
We're not done. What do you need, kid? What do you want? You want to come down here and play VR?
Oh shit.
Okay, let's wrap.
You need me to come? Okay, so here's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you have, give me a minute.
No, they got to play some.
If you have 5
virtual
if you
reality,
have
Star
5
Wars
players,
is actually really fun.
If you have players, and you want to play a different system because this system isn't working for you, it's too much work. It's bullshit. You can't fucking stand it anymore, which is where you were, right? And 3 of them decide to come along with you. And you find 2 other players who are interested in your game. Is that a failure on your part?
Well, the issue is not about success or failure. It's about like those are my friends, because we're talking about 5 people that are my friends, because they're my friends not because I game with them. They're friends. They're my friends for other reasons. But we game together. Like I'm gonna bring them in.
It's not a failure. It's not a failure, Gary. Okay, so let's put it this way. I'm having a party. I'm having a barbecue at my house, man. I'm gonna supply some booze. There's gonna be, some liquor and some beer, and we're gonna grill up a brisket, smoke it. We're gonna hang out. We're gonna talk. We're gonna watch some fucking horse racing and maybe basketball or whatever, right? I got 5 friends. 3 of them only show up. Is that a failure?
No.
Right.
Because one doesn't like horse racing. One doesn't like barbecue.
And or one doesn't drink or whatever, right? Or they, whatever.
Okay.
They have their reasons.
Is this tomorrow, Kyle?
Well, and yeah, I would eat some barbecue. And I'll also say, Matt,
I'll call you. Don't call me.
So I will say this: two things, and I'll give you that we have a different kind of context. But my friends, right? Like they're not gamers.
Not
You know,
either.
Right.
Okay.
they're just not.
Well, then they don't count. In the, well,
Well,
I'm
no,
sorry.
I'm just
Finish your
saying.
part. Finish your point. I apologize.
Yeah.
I prognosticated
Fuck
your
those
No,
arguments. Go ahead,
I'm just
finish your
telling
point.
you that the people who are friends are not. They're not gamers. You know what I mean? And I also kind of come from a fairly, you know, there's more new people around me than old people. You know what I mean? I have more new people than I have old people.
Are they
But
nurses, doctors?
when I was single, there were nurses.
Did they change your
Uh,
diaper?
Yeah. Only if
That's
I
what
ask. Only if I ask, please, and call them mommy.
game altogether.
Uh, So anyway, I understand what you're saying, Matt. I get it, but I don't think most people are in your position. I don't think most people are
I think
playing.
that's.
I don't. No, I don't. I don't. I think.
You think most people are online
I think
connected
most.
to a
Don't,
wider
I
I
think
audience?
think.
nowadays, yes, I agree with Gary on that.
Yeah,
I really do.
and I would go so far as to say that if you're still playing,
I think that's a
no. I think
distortion.
you're when we were kids, we all played AD&D. Those were the books we had because that's what we knew about. And the internet,
I think you need to look at the
allows us
numbers.
access to all these other games, but the vast majority of people are still playing D&D, and I would dare say that they're playing it in that same fashion. Right? They're still playing it in the
I
weird,
think
like they're not
I think a
gamers,
vast
they play D&D.
I think the vast majority are people that we
and
don't
that
even know. The fact that, being the people that we are, the presence that we have online, whether it's X or whatever platform we're on, we're really insulated. We live in this bubble where
that I
everybody
agree
that
with.
we talk to, they know what's going on, man. They're fucking dialed in. They're tuned in. They know the latest thing. They know about, Hasbro's doing this and Watsy's doing this and Shadow Dark Rays this. If you go out into the larger population, and I experienced this myself at my previous job with people that I would just randomly encounter, and it would just so happen to come up that, hey, so and so plays D&D, or this guy's playing D&D. I mean, I think that probably 60 to 80% of the population that play Dungeons and Dragons or games like that on a regular basis have never heard of Drive-Thru RPG. Never heard of Drive-Thru RPG.
No, a vast majority of them don't.
So if they haven't heard of Drive-Thru RPG, they're not on X. They don't, they may be playing games online and they're going to like Reddit, or they're going to looking for group kind of things, and they're joining that way. I agree with Gary on this. I think that a lot of people, and especially since COVID, their gaming is primarily online. It's not a close-knit group of friends necessarily. Now, they can become that over time, but initially starting out, I don't think that's what's going on. I really do think that there's a ton of people. They're not fucking connected other than to the people that they're connected to. They're not connected to a community, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
I hate that word.
It's like,
See, I don't know if that's true, because I mean, the way things have gone up until COVID, you had the gaming group, the friends who were like, oh, hey, we're going to play this game. I'm going to show you this game, blah, blah, blah. And maybe they're connected to a, local gaming store, right? Maybe they've watched a few YouTubers. I agree with you. COVID created like this, like whatever, buzz around the game, but I don't think it's like, I've been using the number 95%, and it's just like, it's not scientific.
All right. Neither is mine.
Right. No, and that's my point. Like, at best, I'm willing to concede like maybe it's actually 85 or 80%. But that's still a vast majority of people are just like gaming with their close buddies, like the teenagers, the college students who are just like, oh, hey, we like this game, right? And we're like weird because we like it, and there's not these other people, and we don't have this
I think
connection.
though,
And I don't think it's good advice to say, oh, hey, you learn this new thing. Your players are initially bad about it. They don't like it. Go find new friends. I think that's bad advice. I think like you should try to find. I think the more interesting question is, how do you convey this new thing to enhance your
Yeah,
gaming experience? To me, that's the more.
I do
interesting
agree with
question.
you on that. I think it's bad advice to say, hey, go find new friends. I do agree with you on that. So I'm going to move from Gary on that. However, I do agree with Gary's take that because we're insulated in this bubble and we're so fucking connected that sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees. And I do have a
I agree with
statistic
that
that
100%.
I mean, and I can't bring it up right now, whatever, but I mean, I have Googled it within the last 6 months. 4 out of 5 people have never heard of Rumble.
Oh shit! Yeah,
right. Only
right.
20% of the population fucking know what Rumble is. And so, and my point is that it's not about the platforms. It's about how connected people are. Everybody's in this information overload these days because we're constantly connected via these fucking things. And everybody's online and they're in social media. But at the end of the day, all they're getting fed is this sort of mass marketing bullshit, right? So you've got YouTube, you've got Daggerheart, you've got, D&D 5e. We're hearing from Watsy now. They've never heard of fucking Shadow Dark. Shadow Dark was hugely successful. Kelsey did a great job. She had less than 20,000 fucking backers on her first project. Now, how many goddamn people play D&D worldwide?
Yeah.
And do the percentages. That tells you right there how many people actually know anything about. Even if you double that generously and say maybe they didn't back it and they've heard of it, that's a tiny fucking percentage of people that play games at the table or online that even know what Shadow Dark is, right?
All right, hold up 1 second. I just need to highlight Judd. Judd, it was great.
I'm sorry to ramble.
Hanging out with you at VentureCon. Yes, we'll hug it out. Gary and I argue all the time. You don't understand. We're like an old married couple. Like this is what we do.
This is the basis of our relationship.
This is what we do. Yeah, no, yeah. Okay. I am going to, because I am about to explode because I've had way too much whiskey. I'm gonna go use the restroom, but I want, starting with Kyle,
Okay.
you guys to talk about how awesome should follow you on social media. Kyle, the floor is yours.
I am not awesome.
Love you, bro.
I'm not awesome and you shouldn't follow me. But if you like me and you want to see more, you can follow me on X at DineBreedTT. Sometimes I'm clever and sometimes I'm not. I am a co-host on Nerdcognito. You can follow Nerdcognito at Nerdcognito on X. We do a podcast and we do a live show on Saturdays. Our live show on Saturdays is the Saturday Speakeasy. You can go to Rumble. If you've never heard of it, Google it. You should really look it up. It's a free speech platform. You can go to Rumble and follow at Nerdcognito on Rumble. Make sure you get the notifications so that you can, when we're going live. It's every Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern. And we have a lot of fun. It's a very loose, open format kind of show. It's kind of an open mic thing. Sometimes we talk games. Sometimes we talk about what's your favorite fast food. You never know what's going to happen there. But I do drink there as well. The big show, the main podcast, is available. You can go to nerdcognito.com to find out about that. It's available on all major podcast providers. We have a live version if you're into the video podcast thing, which you can also get on Rumble by following at Nerdcognito. And we also have other surprises and stuff. My co-host Ryan David has put out a book. If you like generic, kind of open material, system agnostic stuff, he's got Village of Greenhaven is out. We've got a cookbook in the work. Yeah, hey, Flint's got it. Village of Greenhaven, good. I don't have mine handy, but I've got it. Yeah, it's actually really, really good. There's some random tables in there, some pretty cool stuff in that. I haven't really done anything. I'm the eye candy, right? I mean, that's what I do. But anyway, check us out. We'd love to see you. I think most of you probably know who I am already.
Us beautiful people. It's not easy being the eye candy, dude.
There's a lot of pressure, man. There's a lot of pressure.
It is a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, you just have to stand there and be beautiful. But that's not what I'm doing.
That's not what it's all about, right?
Oh, I thought we were talking about Brian. I'm sorry.
No. Brian is a
Eyes
beautiful
up here,
man,
people.
isn't he, though?
Eyes up here.
So healthy.
And you're lucky I'm not wearing jeans.
Kyle, you got
I
great
do.
jeans.
I do.
She's so hot, dude. I ain't
Saw what
gonna
I
lie.
did there.
I am never looking into her eye.
She ain't mid. Motherfuckers say she's mid. No,
Nah, bro.
No, she ain't.
You imagine being a 17-year-old boy, you like roll out of the club, walking towards your truck, just hoping you can make it home. And can I get a ride? Goddamn.
She's the Farrah Fawcett or Brooke Shields of this generation, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's a
if teenage boys still put posters up on their walls, man, that would be the one, right?
I own a teenage boy. He's a fan. But you're right. They don't do posters.
No, on their phone.
God. Yeah.
Yep. Wherever they
Flint, chill your shit, man.
Well, that's right. You guys, for those that are watching, listening, you can catch me over on my YouTube channel over at FlintFireforge. You can also check out some of the zines that I produce over on Drive-Thru-RPG. If you just look up Crit Happens zine, you can check that out. And Adventure coming out hopefully the end of this week.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm still here. So I'm Mike. I'm the Erudite DM, and I started doing this, I guess, early this year or so. But I am focused right now on Shadow Dark, not exclusively. I also play the Black Sword Hack like twice a month with some other guys. I won't get into whether they're my friends or I should find other friends or anything like that, but I play with some other guys. Don't start that shit again. Okay. So I'm writing a zine.
If they don't want to play Black Hat,
yeah,
get rid of them.
Yeah. Are they really your friends? Are
I
they
know.
really your
friends? Dude,
Forget
forget about them. They're not your friends.
Find some guys that want to play Mythic basketball.
Yeah. It's like what was that scene from freaking Bronx Tale? Yeah, you know the Joey test? Yeah, if she doesn't like unlock the door for you when you walk around, forget about it.
Some true shit, dude. If
she don't play Black Hat, dump her.
If you open the door to your truck for a girl and she don't reach over and unlock it for you, something wrong with her.
Dump her.
Something wrong with her. Something is wrong with her.
If she don't like OSC, dump her.
Bro,
get out.
If I'd have picked up some girl for
Lamentations, dump her.
Gone, dude. Gone.
Forget about it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
fucking dump her.
All right, we got it. Listen. Matt,
Jane, stop this
joking,
crazy
but
thing.
when was
Carry
the
on,
last
Erudite
time you were
DM.
single? Hey,
What?
Matt, when was the last time you were single? How many years ago?
I don't know. It was, I think, a century ago.
You gotta cut that shit loose.
Let's let Mike pimp his shit. Erudite DM.
Oh,
Follow Erudite
I know,
DM
Mike,
on
yeah.
X.
I want to I want to throw out some things here real quick. Flint and Mike have been producing some great stuff, zine wise. I think everyone should take a look. Mike, go ahead.
Oh, yeah,
Finish your
real
shill.
quickly. I just have 2 zines that I've done so far. I'm working on the third one now. The first one was War Horse, which these are all written for Shadow Dark. Each one has information for playing the game, a lot of utilitarian tables, things like that, a little bit of lore, stuff on magic and so forth. And then it also has a one-shot. But the first 2 are about 50 pages, and I'm working on the third one now, which is taking off on an Irish Gaelic Norman setting. So I'm mixing some of the earlier period of Irish settlement, the Tuatha De Danann and Irish mythology and so forth, and then mixing in the later period of the Norman invasions, the Viking invasions before that. So anyway, it's based loosely on that. Language has changed, and it's really more of a campaign setting than the first two. Then I'll do something after that. So I'm trying to get out probably 4 or 5 zines a year right now. And right now I'm struggling with print on demand and figuring that out for drive through, but shouldn't be much longer, and I'll be able to get those available for print on demand. But that's what I'm doing, and I'm interested in other games. I am interested in Mythic Bastion Land, actually. But I won't ask if anybody plays that here. Well, that's what I'm doing, and I don't know anything. But I'm having fun with all this. This is great. Enjoy talking to people and getting people jumping in. And who's Muslim? Chubby's Muslim. Oh, Matt's been married since he was 12.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no. All right. Well,
and thanks guys for having me on. I
are-
appreciate it. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
No, it's actually been, this has been one of the this is a great conversation, honestly. The purpose of my channel, even before I started doing the live stream, was about like the games we play and like why they're good and like why we do what we do, right? And I can't do a video about like, oh, this is what I do, blah blah blah, because I just don't feel like it makes sense, because I think the factors that go into a campaign are so varied. Like my experience is just not, I mean, it could be it could be informative, but I don't think it's definitive, right? Or dispositive. And that's why, like, when Gary like, dude, we got to have a podcast. I was like, dude, let's do this. So having you, Kyle, Paul, Mike, having you on, this has been great. Like, I think anybody who watched this, whether they agree with me, you, or ever, Gary, blah blah blah, like someone's going to learn something from this, and that's really what I'm looking for. So I really appreciate you guys taking time off from your busy late Friday nights, because I know you guys are party animals. You're at the clubs usually, and you took a fucking time off to hang out with me and Gary, and I appreciate
Well, thanks for having us on.
I thought this was a paid gig.
Oh, no, you're not getting paid. No,
I don't
I'm
fucking
sorry.
get paid, bro.
No, I don't even pay Gary. Are you kidding me? Like, what's going on? What's Gary been telling you?
No, he doesn't get paid in cash.
I do like to party. I'm not that old.
Get us out of here, man.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it appears our watch has ended. I appreciate the chat. You've been great. We've had a great night tonight. I hope you learned something. I hope you didn't take any bad advice. Maybe you did. I don't know.
Kill your players. PCs. Don't kill the players.
Well, that's just good. That's just good
Take the
advice.
brown ass.
You are the adversary.
Take the brown acid.
Don't take the brown acid. The brown acid is bad. Do not take the brown.
There's no
Oh my
such thing
God.
as a bad trip. It's just how you look at it. Come on now.
Oh no, there's such a thing as a bad trip. I promise you, I've been there.
Yeah. No, there is. Mescaline is bad for you. Now, next week we're gonna have Matthew Tapp, Barrows of Borderlands. Someone tried to cancel him. We're gonna talk about his game and how he developed it, and I'm really excited about that. And then we have some more stuff in the works. We just got to figure out the schedule. Gary and I suck at it. We're not very professional. Blah blah blah. You know this, guys.
Scream.
Our watch has.
Look at me. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. All right, guys, our watch has ended. We really. Oh, he's fucking Hulk Hogan it out over here. All right, guys.
All right,
Hey,
God.
we could have waited for a super chat for that.
Oh
Don't
my
give that
God.
stuff away for
I know,
free.
I know,
I'm gonna
right?
have to burn
You're
out my eyes
always
with copper
thinking.
coins.
I just go with my gut, which
Oh.
y'all almost got to see. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, that's why I'm type AAA. Gary is fucking pure chaos. It's lawful and chaos. That's the second watch, folks. All right. Thank you. Hopefully, we'll see you next week. Barrows and Borderlands and
Good
the
night,
development of
Chubby,
that
Patty,
wacky new game.
Death.
We really appreciate Dying Breed, FlintFireforge, Erudite DM. Their links will be in the fucking dibbly doo whatever the chat. I'm drunk. I'm sorry, and we'll see you next week. Love you guys. Peace.
We love you, Ozzy.
Oh.